Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition 144, I think, of the CantinaMX podcast, special World Cup edition. Glad to have you with us, a regular Thursday night show. I have a special guest with us this evening, so very happy to have that for you guys this evening. We're live on YouTube, and of course, you can listen to this and all previous editions of our podcast downloaded from iTunes or the Podcast Center on Google Play. My name is John Jagu. Like I said, happy to have you with us. The round of 16 is up upon us in Russia 18, the group stage. Sadly, is over. A very bittersweet day for me, at least. And it's been fun getting that 2 weeks of outstanding nonstop soccer for 6 hours a day. And now the games are less, the games are tighter. The games are not necessarily going to be as a little more nervy, less exciting, less offensive. A lot of penalty kicks, unfortunately, and that's what we have to look forward to for these next 2 weeks. But it is the World Cup, and we will jump into that. Joining us this evening from California, we have Daniel Preciado. Daniel, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, John. How's everyone doing?
We are doing great. Glad to have you on. Dan, you didn't get a chance to join us. Actually, they're at the very end of our show yesterday, but you're very quickly your prevailing thoughts now that you've had 24 hours to stew.
I didn't do much stewing. At the end, I was relieved, obviously, that Korea did the unexpected. But and I was able to, I guess, those 5, 10, or 15 minutes or so that I spent just worrying about how brutal and unfair it would have been to be eliminated with 6 points. But luckily, it's not something we have to worry about too much because they're on through the next round.
It was we said before the World Cup, if I told you Dan 6 points and a ticket to the next round, you would have said sign me up.
Yeah.
So Mexico fans need to keep in mind. Glad to have you with us, Dan. Also joining us from Austin, Texas, the host of the Throw In, the weekly radio show here, heard locally on 104.9 FM The Horn, Kit McConico, who I'm assuming, Kit, has the blood pressure dropped at least a little bit after Argentina dramatically won their match against Nigeria to put them through to the second round. They were celebrating, Kit, like they had won the World Cup.
They were indeed. It's been a tough start to this World Cup for Argentina. Thankfully, they're through. I don't know if they will progress much further. We'll talk about that France game coming up Saturday morning. But for Argentina, I'm happy that they're through, and I'm not expecting a whole lot from them. But as far as my blood pressure, it has dropped. I think I lost a few years, and I certainly lost some hair, which I can ill afford to do.
Now, when we last saw, at least when I last saw you, Kid, I didn't get to see you get a chance to go over to the to Little Woodrow's on Burnett Road for the watch. Why is it that you guys have Argentina watch parties, but you don't have Mexico watch parties? What's up with that, Kid?
We would be thrilled to have Mexico watch parties, but as far as I can tell, the Mexico watch parties are at other venues. They are firmly entrenched, firmly established. We actually did a live show the Sunday morning before their game against Germany when Mexico beat Germany. So maybe it's good luck. I don't know. I mean, who knows?
So you're doing
make of it what you will.
You're going to do a live show then on Tuesday morning. Is that are you breaking news here, Kid? Is that's throwing to do a live show through Tuesday morning?
We will not do a live show, but we will be there, and we will be taking audio to play on the following Sunday's show, and hopefully it will be only good news for Mexico fans.
We can only hope. So Argentina plays France, and is it the very first round of 16 games? So right off the bat, we're getting the biggest one. Is it the first game on Saturday, Argentina-France?
It is Saturday morning, 6 a.m. or I'm sorry, 9 a.m. Central. 6 a.m. would be ridiculous. 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, Argentina-France. And as you correctly said, it may be the biggest match, two heavyweights of global football, France and Argentina. I'm not quite sure what to make of this match. Argentina goes in limping. France looking a bit better, but certainly not the team that a lot of people thought would contend for a World Cup. That being said, the slate is wiped clean at this point. All to play for And I think it basically depends on which side shows up for each country.
Borrón y nueva cuenta para todos at this in the round of 16. Well, glad to have you with us, Kit. Also joining us over in Kyle, Texas. Albert El Chiquis Campa joins us. I think I haven't heard him. I know he's up. I'm not sure if he. Oh, there he is. Chiquis, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, doing good. I'm actually here in Mesa, Arizona.
That is not
So,
Kyle, Texas.
Yeah, doing well. Not as optimistic as Dan over there, but
But are you ever though? I mean, let's be honest. That's
I'm a little more level-headed, I would say.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't say.
Kid, I'm actually going to disagree with you on the whole Argentina thing, and I'm tell you why. Because I've seen World Cups where teams like in Argentina, barely sneak in, and then they get on a crazy hot run, and they end up going to the finals, sometimes even winning the tournament. And for me, Argentina just making it into the knockouts, I think, relieve them of a huge amount of pressure, and now I think they can start playing the tournament the way that they want to play it.
I certainly see your point. To me, the World Cup is so much, and I've made this analogy previously. It's like March Madness. It's who gets hot at the right time. And I don't know that Argentina is necessarily hot right now. They're certainly through the group stage, which is where they needed to be, where everyone expected them to be. I think the pressure is still on them. I think the pressure is on Messi. It's on this team. Will they show up? Will they play the way that we all know they can? Or will that just incredible pressure that we saw in those first two group stages matches continue to be there? And will they play that very tight style that didn't lead to results?
Perhaps, but I mean, to me, these knockouts are the rounds where in 85% of the cases, if a team wins in 90 minutes, it's going to be either a set piece or individual talent. And Argentina has individual talent in spades, and they happen to have the guy who has the who's best at it. And I just think that you're right, as you pointed out, they can catch lightning in the bottle for sure. There's no reason why, and if they do, then who wants to play them like that?
I agree with you 100%. And there is pressure taken off them getting through the group stage. That would have been a monumental collapse had they not been able to get through, as was the case with Germany, the defending champion. So there is pressure taken off them. Will they be able to play that way? I think the quilombo, as the Argentines would say, that was the group stage for them is past to some degree. Let's be honest, Sampaoli has no control of this team. He has no power whatsoever.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for them to start calling you on the cell phone, Kit, during the match, and go, Kit, ¿qué hacemos, Kit? ¿Qué hacemos?
They don't need me. It's very obvious that the players are the ones making the decisions at this juncture, and I think they will for the remainder of the cup. They're the ones who are putting the starting 11 out there. They're the ones who are making the changes. Sampaoli is a figurehead, nothing more, and as it should be. He was dreadful with the players he elected to start in those first two group stage matches. He was terrible in the substitutions as well. If this is going to be Messi's World Cup, if this is his legacy, let him run the show completely.
I mean, I saw a replay where he was asking Messi, "Should we put Kun in now?" I mean, you could read it. I can't forget what else he said, but he was asking Kun, should we do Kun? And Messi was like, "Yeah, let's put in Kun Agüero." And it was very telling.
Well, it's no surprise. I mean, Messi is the one who everyone defers to. It's interesting because Messi is not the most vocal. It's actually Mascherano he is the de facto captain. He is the older statesman. Messi defers to him to some degree because of his history with the national team. And so if there's a pregame speech, if there's something to be said, it's going to be Masche saying it, not Messi. But certainly Messi's the one who's going to go to Mascherano and say, this is who we need to start. If this doesn't work out, come the 65th minute, we need to think about putting him in. If that doesn't work, we need to think about putting him in come the 70th or 75th minute. Mascherano may be the one relaying the messages. It's a very interesting dynamic. I don't know how it will play out, but as you said, if they can catch lightning in a bottle, they're capable of beating anyone. Not sure how this match will work out. France has talent. They haven't been outstanding If Argentina can go out, and I hope you're correct, I hope they're playing without the pressure that we saw them under earlier. If they can go out and play freely, I have no doubt that they'll win.
No one is expecting them to win. I mean, who in their right minds right now would bet on them? Which to me says who on earth would bet against them if that's the the how low the expectations have gone for them. I mean, I would just yeah. I mean, I see the way that Argentina went into this, and I see how Italy did it in '94, and how they did it previously in '82, where they just in '82 they had to survive Cameroon the last game of the group stage. They eked out a 0-0 draw because Cameroon just could not stop missing. Maybe it was 1-1. I forget what it was, but they ended up, and were it not for Peru getting shellacked by Poland 5-1, I don't think they would have made it through. And then they just as you said, they caught the lightning in the bottle. They beat Argentina, they beat Brazil, they beat Poland, they beat West Germany, and Rossi, out of the eight goals they scored, he scored 6 of them. You can't get any more lightning than that. That is high quality lightning in the bottle, and I think Argentina has a run in them. So when they were acting like they were celebrating winning the World Cup by them making the group stage, I think that's exactly what's happened here. I think that Argentina is gonna. I think they're gonna do it.
I hope you're right, and I don't know that they were necessarily celebrating that they won the World Cup. I think more than anything, from the players and from the fans, from the country, it was a massive sense of relief for a country with the history of soccer that Argentina has, that you have to win a tournament. Remember, the last 3 international tournaments they've been in, the 2 Copa Americas and the World Cup, they've made the final, lost in the final. Making the final is not enough for Argentina.
Right.
For a lot of countries.
And what were the scores? If you ever remind the folks what the scores were in the knockouts before
they were all 1-goal games.
Right.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
And for most countries, you could afterwards and have a bit of space. You look back on it and say, well, they played well and they did a good job and they made the final. In Argentina, that doesn't happen. That doesn't cut it. No one is giving you a pat on the back for making and losing a final. You have to win it. Nothing else will suffice.
So that brings me to another point that I wanted to ask all y'all. This question was the group stage in maybe starting with South Africa, but definitely more in Brazil. It was very obvious that the group stage was becoming much more competitive than I think some of these bigger countries were used to them being. And I've always thought that the Germanys and the Brazils and the Argentinas and the Italys and lately France and Spain, occasionally England, use the group stage as a way to kind of tune it up before they start playing the real tournament, which is the knockouts. And that is no longer the case. They have to expend as much energy as a team like Mexico or a team like Colombia, teams like Denmark, Croatia, to have to win. That they exert more energy to get the points they need, and we're starting to see that the higher seeds are having to do that as well. Two of the seeded teams were eliminated, Poland and Germany, in this in this group stage, and we saw some seeded teams were eliminated on the last one and the previous one as well. So this is the fact that the players aren't going to be as rested as they would normally were, because a lot of times for the Argentinas and the Brazils of the world, their third game, they were already qualified, so they could suit up, basically kind of what Belgium and England did today, a reserve squad. So that's going to be a very interesting component to see how the bigger teams moving forward in the World Cups, where it does become more competitive, have to deal with that. And I think that's why there might be still some chances for a few surprises in the knockouts, because teams aren't going to be as rested as they might normally be in a World Cup. Anybody have any thoughts to that? Dan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously all those factors go against Mexico, so I'm hoping fresh legs aren't that important. It's kind of a shame, hindsight. Had they known that they were going to lose, they could have just.
Yeah, but Brazil, I mean, they had to field their full squad on that third team too. I mean, that Serbia game wasn't.
Well,
for
as
them
far as
cakewalk.
Argentina goes, I mean, I could understand if you're a fan of the team and you're connected to the team that you're naturally going to be a little bit more pessimistic because I think that's all just fans are. We're so invested and worried that we tend to just focus and dwell on the horrible
worst.
scenarios that could play out. So, but yeah, when you start thinking about how these games are played at this point, it's usually won by, like you said, individual talent, and Argentina's automatically going to be someone that no one wants to face. I think as neutrals, we're lucky that we get to see France and Argentina's like this kind of matchup so soon. Um, I'm going to go with France only because that was my original pick to win the whole thing. But no, it wouldn't shock me at
Well, I
all
mean, I'm sure you
to see
have
Argentina.
like 40, 50 grand riding on that. So,
Well,
we
no, I put
understand.
I put all the money on the Mexico beating Spain. So my bracket keeps changing.
Kid, how much of the fact that Argentina had to really sweat during the group stage is that going to affect them at all, or do you think that like this has united them as a team and they're united more than ever?
I don't think it's affected them physically. I think it, as you said, I think it's united them. I think it's had a positive effect. These are professional athletes. They've gone through a rigorous season. They've had a bit of a break. I don't see fatigue being an issue at this juncture of the tournament. They are playing together for the first time. They certainly weren't earlier on. It's still Messi's team. They have to figure out a way to get more involved to where they're not as deferential to him, to where he's not the only player out there. But getting this victory, seeing the way they all celebrated when they got the win, when they were able to advance, really proves to me that they are united. They are playing together. They're playing for one another. It's been an amazing World Cup. This is a group stage. I cannot remember a group stage that's been this exciting. And as you correctly said, the group stage previously was kind of a tune-up. It was the big guns getting ready for the round of 16, getting ready for the quarterfinals, the semis. That's not the case anymore. You have countries like the Netherlands, like Italy, Ghana, who didn't even make the World Cup, Germany getting knocked out in the group stage, Argentina getting through by the skin of their teeth. You cannot afford to look ahead for any match, and it made for incredible matches in the group stage.
I think what this group stage in this World Cup has done, at least for as a Mexico fan, is helped me appreciate more what Mexico's been able to do as far as qualifying consistently out of the group stage. Watching Neymar cry after them winning game 2 of their group match, seeing just how dejected Messi was after their horrible loss, and then the relief that they had after the game 3. This is not easy getting qualifying out of the group stage. I mean, no matter how you initially look at these groups, they're all, I think at this point, even the worst teams at the very least know how to defend, and it makes for really tight games. Like I said, I'm really impressed now, a lot more so than I ever was before. I'm gonna feel. I like Mexico's chances now. As far as some of these other teams like Argentina, I kind of agree with Kit though. I mean, they seem to be a lot better, a lot closer to clicking in that last game. But I think it's maybe just the urgency of the moment. Maybe the top players make things happen. And I don't know about you, but I kind of wasn't surprised for them to pull it out at the end like they did.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised either at the.
I was having just flashbacks of Maxi the whole time, just thinking, I'm like, they're gonna win. They're gonna win.
Well, the thing that I've always found interesting about Argentina, I think more so than Brazil and more so than just about any other country, is that when it comes to national sides, is that they are and always have been the most patient team on the planet. They will happily, and not like tiki taka stuff, but just possess the ball, with the defenders and the midfielders, and do that for 10 minutes if they need to, before before they find that little crease. And that's why I think they have a really good chance, because you have to have that, because it's teams are going to be very, very defensive, and as long as they're sound defensively as well, they know that they're going to probably have about 3 or 4 really good chances, and I just like their chances because I think that they have the best offensive talent on the planet, and if they can get it going, then I know the defense is going to be there. I just think that Argentina is uh,
That's actually where I have my most question marks as far as Argentina goes. Is defensively, and even in the midfield, Mascherano. I mean, I know his name carries a lot of weight, but I don't know. I kind of see him as a bit of a liability.
Kit. I do too. Why is Mascherano playing as more of a conductor instead of just that in front of the defense, uh, just bodyguard vigilante type that he's so good at?
Out of necessity, and he should be that bodyguard vigilante in front of the defense. He's old. He's a shadow of his former self. He can't be the conductor, but that was going to be Lanzini. Lanzini tore his ACL. He's obviously not on the side, and they haven't been able to find a replacement. I think Banega's done a good job. If you look at the passes completed in that final match of the group stage against Nigeria, it was Banega. Banega was the one pulling the strings. They're going to need
he
him.
made his first start, did he not, in that Nigeria game?
That was his first start. He will start again. I think Giovanni Lo Celso, the youngster from PSG, will also start. I think he starts in front of Enzo Perez. I think Enzo did nothing. He didn't add anything for Argentina.
What about Guido Pizarro, who played at Sevilla and also played down in Tigres? Would he be an option at this point, or is he just not?
For whatever reason, he doesn't appear to be one. I think he would do a good job. I would like to see Lo Celso. He's a young player. He's hungry. I think he would pair well with Banega in the midfield. From what I've heard and what I've read, that they will start together. I know Ever will start without a shadow of a doubt. Who they pair with him will be interesting. But from what I've heard so far, I think it's going to be a Gio Lo Celso. For Argentina, having watched all these games with Argentine fans and Argentine expats, the one thing that they have all said to me is it would not be Argentina unless they made their fans suffer. And there's some truth to that. And having watched this team for a few years now and having been a fan of them, they are patient. But with that, it's hard on the fans. It's difficult. They don't do anything the easy way.
Is it hard on the fans because the fans know and understand, man, we should be just we should be like just a giant killer, a team that can just take on anybody, period. And when they do struggle the way that they do, is that where the frustration sets in? And then a second question, if you wouldn't mind, if a Boca Juniors player scores for Argentina, do you only give him 85% of a full celebration? I'm just curious.
Well, to answer your first question, it's I mean, well, we'll get to the first things first. When the national team plays, everybody roots for everyone. At least it should be that way. I think Pavon has been outstanding. The Boca player, I'd like to see him play more. I know Argentine fans who will not root for the national team because they think it is basically Boca Juniors light. They're fans of River and other clubs, San Lorenzo, Independiente, Racing, who literally will not root for the national team. I think that's pretty ridiculous. I don't care. I mean, when it comes to the national team, I will root for Argentina. I don't care if it's a Bostero scoring; he's still a Bostero. When it comes to club football, it's a totally different deal.
It's interesting you say that because we had a Tom Marshall on when we were doing our group previews talking about England, and he said the same thing. He actually said that he wasn't necessarily an English national team fan, and he said that there was a lot of that because of the same reason, because fans didn't want to root for players from clubs that they didn't want to root for. So they weren't not as many England fans as one would expect. So it kind of sounds like the same thing.
It is, and there's a huge divisiveness among fans in Argentina, and they'll always find something to complain about. River will brag that they have the most players, current and former, on the national team. That's always going to be the case. But
by how many? By how many? I'm just curious.
There are 4 current or former River players on the national team. Actually, 5.
Right. And how many? I'm just I know you know. So how many Boca players?
2. 2. Yes, yes. I absolutely know. But if it's Pavon, the Boca player who goes on a hot streak, I have no issue with that. If he's the one who scores the goals, if he's the one who gets them by France, that's fantastic. I will celebrate his goal like I would celebrate a goal from anyone, from a River player, because at this
What
point,
happens? What happens if he misses it?
the first thing out of my mouth will be Bostero, absolutely. But
Okay.
but that being said, having to watch these games with Argentine fans, when Higuain missed his sitter, we all knew he would. The first thing out of their fan was Gaishina. I mean, it's just that's what it is, and everybody knows it.
Oof. So kids, so we have on Saturday, and then there'll be a watch party at Little Woodrow's, correct?
Yes, Little Woodrow's on Burn It. It will be full, I'm sure.
And will they be serving breakfast? Is there a typical Argentine breakfast that one should have before? I mean, obviously there'll be some strong coffee, I would assume.
There will be very strong coffee. That much I can assure you. Hopefully there will be some chori. Chori is the traditional. I mean, a good chori pan is the football dish of choice in Argentina.
Is Tano going to be there? How many Argentine fans during the match were having those kinds of conversations with the television there at Little Woodrow?
Oh, there were a few, and since we all speak Spanish, there were many utterances that I will not repeat on this esteemed program, but you get the idea if you listen to Altano Passman. It was basically what he said on repeat times about 100. 100 people, that is.
Yeah, I did get to watch the Croatian map. They probably don't want me back because I showed up just as Croatia had scored their first goal, and then obviously things went down. It got quieter and quieter as that game went on, and it was rough. But I knew that Argentina they still had a chance, and I told you, I said, "No te rajes, kid." So it was they were able to pull through.
John, that's exactly what you told me. I was skeptical, but you were correct, and I hope you are in your prediction against France.
Well, I mean, I have Argentina winning the whole thing, so it's this for me and my pick is the best thing that could happen to Argentina is to survive the group stage, and now they can play with with nothing to lose because no one's expecting squat from them. And I can't think of a more dangerous team on the planet to have that kind of intangible going into a knockout tournament.
Those are good points. I hope you're correct. As a few people have said, when you're a fan of a team, you will always be pessimistic. That being said, I'm a fan of Mexico. I hope they do well. I've always been a fan of the Mexican national team, and I think they have a real shot against Brazil.
What do you think Mexico absolutely has to do in order to get the result against Brazil and advance to the quarterfinals?
I think they need to play the way they played against Germany. They need to play confidently. They need to go out there. They need to believe they can beat Brazil from the very beginning. And if they do that, I think they'll be just fine. If they go out there and they're nervous and they're sitting here and they're playing tight, oh, this is Brazil. This is a 5-time world champion. Let's be honest, a lot of people lose to Brazil. They see that strip. They see those 5 stars on top of the badge. If Mexico goes out there, if their players are screaming the national anthem, if Chicharito, I mean, if he's looking at those guys, you can tell when they're ready to go. If that's the case, I think they'll be just fine.
Well, it's something that we've talked about, at least that I've talked about on this show, is that it's the one team that Mexico, for whatever reason, they're gonna give them a game, and I don't think you can say that Mexico playing Argentina, France, Spain. I used to say Germany, but obviously that has changed now. So I mean, I do think that you're absolutely right. That Mexico has a very good chance to win that game. They have a very good chance to get their asses blown out too. I mean, that could certainly happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Mexico is going to give Brazil everything they can handle and might even give them a little too much than they can handle. So we'll see how that plays out. Kid, any surprises for you in the round of 16? I don't want you to spoil your picks. I know you're making your picks on your show, but is there anybody that you're thinking, man, I wouldn't bet against these guys?
I've never bet against Uruguay. I'd never ever bet against Garachirua. They know how to play in big matches. They have a style. People talk about what's your style? How do you play? I mean, jogo bonito for Brazil. What is it? Uruguay knows what they do. They handle pressure. They absorb pressure.
Do you want to deprive us, Kit, of an Argentina-Portugal quarterfinal? Is that?
I'm an American. I root for teams from the Americas, from Tierra del Fuego to the North Pole. I'm not a European. I'm not African. I'm not Asian. I root for teams from the Americas.
So you want to see Clásico el Plata?
Exactly. That's it. And people ask me what teams I root for. I root for teams from the Americas, North, South, and Central.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that is probably the one team that could derail Argentina's, just because.
Oh, very easily.
It's like they're meeting for the 300th time. I mean, they've obviously played each other and have It's I think as an Argentina fan, I might want to see Portugal there instead.
I think Argentina has a better shot to beat Portugal than they would against Uruguay. Uruguay is one of those teams who they're not afraid of Argentina. They know they can beat Argentina. They've done it numerous times. And as I said, they have their style. They know what they're going to do. There's no, this game we're going to play in this formation or we're going to start these guys. No, they do the same thing every game. They absorb. They're going to find a set piece goal and they're going to win 1-0.
I'll ask the panel this question. Over and under, how many red cards in an Argentina-Uruguay quarterfinal? Over and under.
2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
4.
Juan Uribe. Profe checks in with 4. Kit?
At least 2. Certainly 2. Yeah.
I think 2 bordering on 3, depending on how bad the losing team's losing. If it's like 3-0, then I think the losing team will end up with 8 guys on the field at the end of it.
You know what, John?
And the winning probably like with 10 or 9 from them just bleeding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Juan Uribe joins us. Yes, sir.
I would wonder how many of them, after the game, they got knocks on their ankles and their knees and stuff,
Well, did y'all ever saw that picture of Andres Iniesta after the final against Holland? He was on the airplane and he had his pants, and he was wearing shorts, and the
that's not that picture Ron likes.
No. The reporter was pointing out that this guy had like 30 bruises on his legs.
Oh, geez.
From all the kicks and hacks he had taken. So I'm sure that both Argentina and Uruguayan legs will be a lovely pattern of black and blue.
They would destroy each other, and then afterwards
go have a few beers.
They would probably get together and have some mate and a few beers, certainly some Fernet and Coke. But that's the relationship they have, and it's interesting. I mean, Uruguay always has been Argentina's little brother, so to speak. They don't like it. They're out to prove themselves, and rightfully so.
How much more do you find yourself drinking yerba mate during the World Cup?
I drink at least a cup of it a day. I'll have some coffee for breakfast. I'll have some before the second game. And as you so correctly said in the intro, the group stage is fantastic because you get 3 games a day. You get 4 games a day.
And done by 3 o'clock.
And you're done by 3 o'clock. It's amazing. To be honest, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'll be going through withdrawals. And even though we're into the round of 16, some big time matches, it's just not the same as being able to block out your entire morning and early afternoon just to watch the World Cup.
True. Now the round of there's no question with that. And for the folks on the West Coast, I mean, you guys, games will start at 5. So I know Dan, you're an early riser. So by 1 o'clock, you guys were done watching games. So yeah, there's something to be said about the European World Cup because it fits our schedule very nicely. As far as game times, it's the ones over in Japan and Australia. Those are the ones that are going to wreck us because those are on Those run overnight. So Kit, so no surprises from you. Is there anything that you want to, and any team you're keeping an eye out? Other you said Uruguay, and any team that is not one of the traditional teams that you think might make some moves.
I think Denmark can get it done. They've been impressive thus far. I think the Danes can get it done. That's a side that people overlook. I don't know that they're going to be overlooked at this point, but I certainly I would not be surprised if they progressed.
What about the Russians? It seems like the Russians might, if they can get by Spain, the Russians going to make semifinals.
It depends on how big the check is that Vladimir decides to write. The fact that they are where they are it's interesting, and the conspiracy theory is obviously tongue in cheek. But you're right. If they can get by Spain, I think they will make the semifinals. They're playing at home. They have the support of that entire country. And I'm quite frankly, I'm surprised they're playing as well as they are, because there has to be a massive fear factor on that team. If they don't succeed, what is going to happen to them?
Well, I think they did get exposed a little bit by Uruguay, but that was a game that really didn't. I mean, they're not even qualified, so it really didn't matter to them who were they going to play. So, whether it's Spain or Port, pick your poison. Take our chances with one or the other. Anybody else? Dan, are there any teams that like, you got to look out for Japan, watch out for the Japanese, and anybody
besides Mexico?
Besides Mexico?
Hey, John, I think you really have to. I think Sweden is gonna make a deep run, at least get to semifinals.
So you think it'll be Sweden that makes the semis?
Yeah, man. I think I'm gonna go with a Bruce Lee quote here. I'm gonna bring some Eastern philosophy to you. There's a quote he said. He goes, "I don't fear a man who knows a million kicks. I fear the man who's practiced one kick a million times." And I think if you apply that to Sweden, they're really good at their bread and butter. And it was good. It was good enough to beat Italy in the playoff. It was good enough to edge out Netherlands for that playoff spot. So I think I'd probably put some money on them if I was a betting person.
Yeah. That has to be only World Cup diehards are gonna watch the Switzerland match. I mean, that is going to be a count the 40-yard passes in that one. That is going to be a tough sledding to watch that. But but you're right though. I mean, what they did to Mexico was just an absolute exhibition of how to play, the style of play, and the fact that Mexico allowed them to do that. Just let them do it. On top of everything else, was just an unfortunate, shocking display by the coaches and by the players both. They just did not have the energy needed to, or even the game plan needed to deal with the game there. So you say Sweden? Now that's interesting. Sweden semifinalists. I think Russia could be a surprise team, and Kit's going with his Uruguay. So Kit, Uruguay or Argentina there. So you're saying that is as close to a toss-up as there is in world soccer.
Without a doubt. As you said, they've played each other 350,000 times in the last 100 years. No two teams know each other as well as they do. They play together. They played against each other. And I would actually, I mean, you mentioned the stars, and if Messi, if he catches fire, he can do anything. But that notwithstanding, I would give the edge to Uruguay, because they play a good brand. It's frustrating. They slow things down. They play physical. They know how to attack Messi. They know how to keep him out.
And they got another guy that can catch fire too. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy, that's now you got me licking my chops for that one. I'm hoping that's how it plays out, because that will be, at the very least, what it does is it guarantees at least one, like you said, Kid, an American team in the semifinals, and then, the Brazil Mexico winner will be the. So we could have an all American semifinal, that side of the bracket. That would be nice. Well, Kit, is there anything else you wanna lay upon us, Argentina wise?
No, it's been a dumpster fire. It's starting to simmer down. I don't think it's been put out completely. I'm excited for this match Saturday morning. I think it'll be highly entertaining. I've been very impressed with Mexico. I thought Mexico would either crash and burn or make it deep, and right now I think they can make it deep. I'm excited. I'll be pulling for them to get by Brazil, and hopefully they can do it, and hopefully they advance and continue the run.
And I'll ask the panel, who is the absolute favorite? Is it Brazil? Is it Belgium? Is it Spain? Is there someone who is the absolute prohibitive favorite right now? Based on how they've played in the tournament.
I would say Spain, because Costa looks like he's on form, and I mean when that dude is on, man, he's just a beast. He's a bully. I'm a fan of his. I think going forward, they're looking pretty capable of damage, of causing just all kinds of damage to anybody. So I would think they're the favorites at this point. But all of them, all teams, every single one of them has looked vulnerable defensively. So I don't think there's a single result that'll really shock me at this point if anybody wins.
You know what? I think Brazil is the only one defensively. I think they've conceded one goal.
That is correct. Actually, they've conceded. You're right. Just the one goal.
And it was off a corner piece. So I think in the qualifiers, I think they had like a half a goal, less than half a goal average. So those guys, you know,
But that is not to say that they can't be. I mean, Serbia had a very decent amount of chances, and so did Costa Rica, and so did Switzerland. So, the fact that they didn't get scored on.
And Spain ended up on the easier, side of the bracket, I think, as far as matchups and national teams with less of a pedigree.
Right. If they get by Russia, then they'll have the winner of Denmark, Croatia, and then the bottom half of that bracket. I mean, it's Sweden, Colombia. I mean, England has to be. Oh my God! We might have a chance to make the freaking final. I mean, England fans have got to be just absolutely beside themselves. If they, because Colombia is probably their toughest game. If they can get by that, then they have a really good chance to make. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out because there's still. I mean, as pointed out by all, there really isn't a clear cut fair. At least not in this. We'll see how it plays. Not in this particular round. So we'll see how that works out. Well, Kit, listen, I really appreciate you hopping on and joining us today. I know that you probably needed to vent a little bit and let out some of your frustrations. Now, I know for me at least that and maybe for some of the other folks, when Cruz scored that goal Saturday, I was in the pool. I just ruined the rest of the afternoon until Mark Geiger came out and pointed at the at the center circle that it was a goal. I had this just ridiculous amount of anxiety. So were you the same way the minute after that Croatia loss? Were you just angst ridden for 4 or 5 days or however long it was?
It was difficult. It was very difficult. I mean, I fully expected Argentina to not make it through the group stage. A lot of you said that you thought that they would figure out a way against Nigeria. I did not, especially when Nigeria equalized. I thought that was going to be it. I didn't think they had the fortitude to get through, but it came from an unexpected source. So thanks to Rojo, they got through, and everyone can breathe a sigh of relief, at least until Saturday morning when they have to lace them back up and see what they can do against France. Hopefully the run continues.
So it sounds like what folks will get to see on display at Lil Woodrow's if they go and watch this watch party on Saturday morning on Burnett Road is that there's like the 5 stages of grief, but then there's the 10 stages of watching an Argentina match. with Argentines because there's a whole massive amount of emotions that the fans go through. So that sounds like it should be a very, very excited. I think you're going to be in a good mood Saturday afternoon. I do think so. I think Argentina is going to pull it out.
Well, I hope you're right. And John, thank you again for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Kit Mechanico, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us here on the CantinaMX podcast. We will talk to you again, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Kit Mechanico joining us here on the CantinaMX podcast to discuss some Argentina. I knew that he needed to get some, as we all do from time to time, to get some things off your chest, and hopefully Kit was able to peel some layers off the onion there, and hopefully he feels a little better. So we're very happy to have him join us. Boys, it's been 24 hours late. I know we had our show immediately after the what we had witnessed with the Sweden match, but it's done. Mexico did what they had to do. They got there in the knockouts. Could it have been maybe an easier path for some future games? That would have been great. But at this point right now, they're in the tournament. Let's see what they can do. They have the players to do it. They're playing. I mean, again, they couldn't have asked for a better matchup. I mean, for them to go in, kind of like Argentina, where no le van a dar ni un quinto. I mean, how many times has Mexico played a game where they have a huge chip on their shoulder and they come out winning? I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not saying Mexico's going to win, but I think they're going to have a really good chance. Much more than people think. Much more.
Has there been any talking from the Brazilian side? Because I'm sure their press is well aware of the records, and I'm sure they brought it up. Has there been any?
I haven't heard anything yet, but I mean, I'm sure that the players. I mean, Neymar was on the field when Mexico beat him for the. There's a bunch of guys on the field when Mexico beat him at the Olympics, and there's a bunch of guys that played for Mexico. They're going to be on the field in that game too. So,
I think that counts for a lot. I know it's a different stage. It's not nearly as big, but I think that memory can help for sure.
Well, I mean, look at a guy like the Hector Moreno. I know he's not going to play, but that generation, they beat Brazil. Who did they beat to win the World Cup? The U17. They beat Brazil. That same generation, who did they beat to win the gold medal? They beat Brazil. Beating Brazil to them is not the massive challenge. Again, and I'm not disrespecting Brazil, but it is a game that they're very accustomed to playing.
You know what too? Even though the Olympics maybe it was not as big a stage as the World Cup, that was man, I forgot the manager's name. I had the. Anyways, my point was that was their first. That was the A team in the Olympics. That was gonna be their starting.
Yeah, they were using that as a tune-up for the World Cup. That was their World Cup tune-up team.
Yeah, and it was and I think they fired the manager in the aftermath, and I think part of it was because he lost in the final to Mexico. I think they blew up that whole process because they were disappointed in from that point.
I mean, and Big Phil even said it in the last World Cup. He said for whatever reason Mexico's been he calls them a little rock in the shoe. They've always bugged us. It's just Brazil has beaten Mexico, yes, but Mexico's beaten Brazil too, and there are not many teams in the world that can say that.
Well, Norway, us in Norway, Mexico and Norway.
Now there was a stat that I was keeping with me that I didn't want to say because I didn't want to jinx anything, and it almost came to be. But beating Germany, in the group stage is almost always the kiss of death for a team.
Fuck.
Yeah, in the group stage.
Wait, but there's got to be like a little asterisk because Germany normally would make it to the knockout stages. So
well, they would. Well, what I'm saying is like Algeria beat Germany in 1982, eliminated. after the group stage because they beat Nigeria and they beat Chile, but it didn't beat Austria, and there was only one combination of score, and this was when they played the game the day later, Austria Germany, West Germany at the time. There's only one score where both of them would go through. It was Austria 1, Germany 0. Guess what happened in the first 10 minutes? Germany 1, Austria 0. They splayed the. Did you see the end of the Japan game today? Did anybody catch that? Do you remember? Okay, another question. Do you remember the end of the
around?
Yeah, the Mexico-Italy game in 2002? Do you remember that?
Yeah, ya no nos ataquen. Yeah.
When both they were like just staying exactly. That's what that game was like for 80 minutes. Yeah, so Algeria lost in 2010. Serbia beat Germany. Do y'all remember that? Serbia beat Germany in 2010 in the group stage, and then they lost to Australia, and Ghana ended up qualifying ahead of Serbia. So beating Germany did not help them. Spain in '94 tied them. Ghana in 2014 but in '94 but did advance. Ghana did it in 2014 and did not. And the only team that beat Germany in the group stage and advanced other than Mexico now was Denmark in '86. And then the very next game, they got their butts whipped 5-1 by Spain. That was where the Huitre had the El Poker in the Corregidora.
Hey, John?
Yes, sir.
But I think to me, Korea took the bullet for Mexico. I think that curse might have I think Korea might have been sacrificed to remove that curse for Mexico because.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so because Mexico with all that Cruz Azul shirts that they're making the Swedish fans wear, all it did was.
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
It was bad juju. Why are you taking bad juju to the World Cup?
No shit. Like seriously, like your team hasn't won shit. I mean, they're a punchline, and there you are just smearing it on everybody.
Smearing is a very good word. You're exactly right. Then they were smearing on everybody.
I'm sorry. It's just reminiscent of caca. So I'm just yeah. When we're thanking Saga for his video, I mean that tells you how far we're reaching as far as for like looking for good omens and any kind of break and any kind of advantage, whether fictional or not, we're trying to get. And this guy thinks it's funny just to walk around handing Cruz Azul jerseys to anybody who's willing to put it on.
Now, whether or not that letter that the Swedish Federation sent out and said don't trade shirts with these shirts because the shirts are cursed.
Did that actually happen?
I don't know if it did or not. I mean, hilarious if it did, but I'm not. I can't say absolutely. Whether or not if that was the case. If that happened or not, I'm not so sure. But I mean, I'm telling you, Chicharito scores, right? There's the two emblemas de Puma right behind the goal. So, I mean, come on. I mean, it's so if you want the good juju, you gotta have the guy. Every time I saw a Santos jersey before a match, I saw one in a picture before the Germany game and the Korea game. Y mira qué pasó, that's the kind of stuff,
We're out there, man.
Yeah,
I've seen a few.
But I actually saw a couple of Pumas jerseys at other games, man. I mean, I'm telling you, it's so it's iconic. I mean, you see that shirt, you immediately know what team that is. I mean, you see red and white stripes, it could be like 1,000 teams. 1,000 teams. It could be Atlético de Madrid. It could be, I mean, any number of Spanish teams. It could be Necaxa. I mean, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
It could be anybody.
Hey John, I got some X's and O's for you.
Yeah, were you able to break some stuff down, profe?
Yeah. I went back to Brazil's qualifying campaign, and Tite is being very predictable in that he still plays the same formation, basically the same tactics, a 4-3-3.
Can you blame him?
And in the back, he uses Thiago Silva, Marquinhos, and Dani Alves on the right. But now he's got a Danilo there.
Well, no, he has a guy Fagner or is it Danilo who's been playing on the right?
You know what? I think he uses either one. Fagner
and then Marcelo got hurt in the game against
he's out?
Serbia, so we don't know. So they brought in that other guy, the skinny, the Leandro Augusto. Yeah.
Felipe Luis.
Felipe Luis, but apparently he was apparently a lot more defensive. So that may not be the Mexico may prefer seeing Marcelo out there. And again, I mean, I think Marcelo's probably the best left back on the planet. Don't get me wrong, but if he cheats up, it leaves a lot of field behind.
Well, check this out, John. So I went through their lineup, at their qualifying campaign, and in match day, what was it against Colombia? I think I didn't write down what match day it was. Did I? I don't know. It was like I think match day 15 or 16. They tied Colombia 1-1, and Felipe Luis was the starting left back. I think Marcelo might have been injured at that point. And actually one of the goals they gave up, it came from a double team that they were doing on gosh, what's this guy's name? Did they sub him out? On Arias. So on the right wing, Cuadrado and Arias were attacking. Cuadrado, they try to double team him. Somehow the ball gets through to the Colombian right back. He sends a cross to the opposite wing where Danny Alves should be defending, and they scored a goal off of that play. And the big culprit there to me was Felipe Luis, that he was not able to apply the double team with Renato Augusto. So they're vulnerable. But
so there's the Leandro Augusto and the Renato Augusto playing. That's going to be confusing.
no, it's Felipe Luis.
Oh, Felipe Luis. Thank you.
Yeah. They might be brothers though. I mean, but I think Felipe Luis, even though he's less willing to go forward and he's more disciplined, I think he's overall not as good as a defender, or at least maybe the what's that called, the cooperation, the coordination between him and his left center mid is not that good, and obviously Neymar's not really gonna track back and defend. Yeah, so in that game against Colombia, what I saw was Colombia basically with their fullbacks, they were venturing forward, applying pressure.
Why doesn't Argentina put Messi on the wing?
No,
Imagine the way that the Brazil plays Neymar and the way that Holland played Robin.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
I mean, Messi could make a career for himself for the next 5 years, being the next Arjen Robben, where all he does is just break down the left, cut across the goal with his left foot and score.
But he's got nobody to bring the ball to him. Basically, he's got a.
I think he's got plenty of people to. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have talent around him. It's just that just doesn't click.
That's just what I just don't get about them. Is that how on earth can y'all, play where it's almost like youth soccer, where you just give it to the one guy and let him try and do it.
But I do think a lot of that has to do with their defense being slow. I think it forces the team to play more compact, and it just reduces the spaces for Messi. I think if they were younger and quicker and able to play with more space between the lines, I think he'd be more effective. As far as playing him on isolating him more, just having him one position, I kind of agree with you, just because it'll force everybody else to just play normal. And if the play kind of like, I don't know, I could see like a lot of scenarios where you force the play on the left and then just you switch it over where he's got more room to do damage, either find a shot or pick a pass. It's a head scratcher. It's been a head scratcher. I don't think anybody, but at the end of the day, like they're gonna play awful, like they have, and they're gonna eke out wins, and they're probably gonna make it close. I mean, if they can get through this first hurdle, I mean, they can go as far. No, I'm talking about Argentina.
Oh,
I mean, Mexico. I mean, I always think they're gonna win. I always kind of tend to look for reasons. It's not just blind. There's lots of reasons why Mexico could win. They got history on their side and they have talent. I think if they're focused and if they're precise with their passing, I think they'll win. The one reason I honestly think too is that I don't have faith in a team that's led by Neymar. I know he's not the only guy on the team. There's other players that can do the job. They're not just dependent on him, but he is their leader, and I can't see him being being captain to the champion of the world. I have trouble seeing him being able to do that. I think he'll implode.
You think he's
Well,
too petulant? Like
No, I just think that if
crybaby?
he's soft, I think he's
Yeah.
soft ultimately, and I think if you can get physically irk him, you can completely get him out of the game, and I think that
is it too late to convocar Severo Mesa?
I was gonna say Chaton.
Well, you know what? Well, John, you didn't let me finish my X's and O's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But anyways, so I think Mexico comes out in a 4-3-3. The front three is Chucky left, Cheech center forward, Vela on the right. Um, and since Marcelo is not there, I think Vela versus matching up with your Leandro Augusto. That's a good matchup. JDS, HH and Guardado in midfield. And then the back line, only Ayala comes in for Moreno. So you have Gallardo, Salcedo, Ayala, and I think Layun goes into right back to Mark Neymar. And
You don't think Edson plays anymore?
no, because in the aftermath of the Sweden game, JCO basically said, "Hey, you know what? The tactics they were wrong. It's my fault. It's and he made mistakes. That's my fault because he's young. He's a debutant, and I kind of threw him out there to the wolves, and I didn't give. So I think he's gonna. I think he might bench Machin, even though to me he played fantastic. He showed
He's got to play, dude.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
unless
I
he
don't
doesn't
blame
play
I don't
Ayala.
blame Machine for anything that happened to him yesterday, man. He was exposed by his coach, is what happened to him yesterday. That had nothing to do with Machine.
So
I
yeah,
think I think they should have gone with that same back line that they did against Germany. It worked. It worked great. I don't see why you'd want to tinker with that when you don't have to. I, I mean, now it's impossible, but I mean, I think they should have gone with the same exact lineup with why am I forgetting his name?
Ayala.
Not well, Yella too, but
Moreno, Salcedo,
and over on the left,
Gallardo,
Gallardo.
el
Gallardo.
Puma,
Sorry, yes.
el Puma Rayado.
Um, I thought that back line was strong, and then having Layun play in the midfield. I
Well,
know his shot wasn't on. I mean, he couldn't get a single shot on target, but
Layun was the reason why Machine looked so bad.
that's what kind of why I don't want to see
But
Layun
that,
play
that's
right back because I don't I think he's a liability
I do
defensively.
too. I don't think he has legs anymore. I think he needs to be replaced by Jonathan.
Um, I
you
think if
Jonathan would have never allowed that to happen.
hey, remember Mexico tried to mark Neymar in confederations with Iramir. They put a center back. Iramir is a center back. He's not a right back. They put him in as a right back, and Neymar, he ran him
So
ragged.
if he throws Salcedo out there, does that mean that Rafa plays as a central?
No, I think he's gonna go with Ayala and
I know
Salcedo.
that, but I mean, there
well,
are
so
no other centrales
why
other than
not try
Ayala and Rafa.
why
So
not
they're going to
Edson?
play
Nah, dude,
centrales.
Rafa's done.
But
I think he's
why
gonna
not
play.
play Edson there? He could play center
That's what,
back also,
Oh,
I
along
don't think he
with.
will though. I think he's gonna go with the more experienced, just a little bit older players. I think, and Ayala gives you that
but my
that
point is that
playmaking
he doesn't
for the
have to.
long ball.
He doesn't have the defenders on his roster. That's it's either
Well,
going to. I mean,
I mean, Nestor would be great right now. You know what I mean?
well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, I mean, then or he got rid of Alanis, he got rid of Molina. Molina should
Well,
the
Alanis was
fact that
done,
well, okay, but
but I mean,
but again,
Yadi was
there
in.
aren't enough central defenders to cover the holes that need to be covered for this game. So it's either going to be
He's gonna play with a backline of four, dude, because one of his tenets has been, hey, if they play with a front three, then I play with a back four. So that's why I'm thinking he's not gonna put
So
Edson.
much. So Machin has to start then. He has to start as the
Not
right
as
Well,
a
back.
he
right back
has to because I think he has to. I don't know what position he could play. He's going to be
or,
playing, but he has to
or
play.
defensive mid. Is he gonna put him in as defensive mid instead of Jonathan?
I would put Machin in as no position other than just man mark Neymar wherever he goes. You go.
I don't.
Punto y
I
aparte.
think Layun is gonna be your guy there, dude. And I think Layun is gonna exploit. You know, I'm serious. I think Layun's gonna take attack that wing that Neymar doesn't. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys. So when Colombia played these guys, or no, actually Chile lost this game, but when they played Brazil in the last match, they ended up losing 3-0. But when the fullback would attack, one of the 7 minutes would come in and cover that space. So that could be Jonathan Dos Santos there covering Layun's runs down the line. Uh, but I don't know if that's a winning combination because Brazil
I
doesn't concede
I just
very much.
I personally think they should try to they should go for defending set pieces. I think he was right all along as far as like emphasizing how important winning set pieces is. I think as long as they play conservative and don't get too cute, if the opportunity is to hold on to possession, then go ahead and do it. But if it's not, launch the ball, stay organized. Brazil's not going to have an easy time breaking down Mexico in just a regular run of play. And if they do get through, I feel confident that Ochoa is going to be able to stop most of whatever gets through. And if that's the case, then you have to defend those corners, and you have to maybe take your chances on those corners and on the free kicks. So I hope that he just lines up a bunch of players, and just when it comes to having the ball, don't insist on keeping possession or attempting dangerous passes in the middle of the field.
Right. Which is what has killed them. It has been the Achilles heel in the Osorio era, and it was what caused goal number one and goal number two in the Sweden game.
You know what though? With Layun and Ayala in the back, they can counterattack because if you he Chucky and Cheech is like the leader of this team. There's no way he's gonna bench him, even though maybe we'd like to see Raul Jimenez or some or
Well, I
not
don't
Raul
see why
Jimenez.
why he can't play both. Honestly, to me,
I
this is a
I
game where why have that third
I
forward
think
when you need the fourth midfielder is what I think.
well, this is what I think. I think if he's gonna play to counter them, you need Chucky in there. You need Cheech in there. Throughout the Juan Carlos Osorio process, these past 3 years, almost four, Chucky has been like his best player in transition as far as attacking wise. Um, Almost every game he comes in, they start playing. They start cat and mouse like. Counter attacking the opponent, and that's been Chucky, man. He's your guy in transition under Osorio. Chucky's been the best player. Um,
I will say this for Chucky, which was something that Layun was not providing for Machin, is that Chucky was coming back when Gallardo was exposed. It was Chucky that came back and cleaned that up. Layun did not do that at all for Machin once. Well, maybe, I mean, at least not on the crucial plays.
yeah,
And Machin's instinct, he's got a he's basically got a 2-on-1 on him. His instinct, because of where he's played his entire life, is to pinch to the middle, right?
yep.
So I mean that just left. I mean that left that back post open the whole game because Layun was not coming back. Layun was not helping him out. It was tough to watch, man. It was that goal that Sweden scored where Layun is 15 yards behind the play. It's like, dude, what are you doing? It was just, come on. Which is so sad because Layun in the first game against Germany, I mean, the dude just wouldn't stop running the whole game, just back and forth and back and forth. It's like, dude, where was that?
You know what? I think that's Osorio mentioned that his biggest mistake was that he didn't rotate his lineups and I think his assistant had told him, hey, you should play 3-5-2 against Sweden. Um, and I guess more X's and O's, but Chile I mentioned to you guys in the channel, Chile had played Sweden right before the World Cup. I think in March they had a friendly. Chile won it 2-1, and they basically, Ronaldo Rueda went out there. He put a 3-5-2 out, and he just asked his forwards, "Hey, as soon as the Sweden backs have the ball, just press them. Don't give them time to send that long pass. Just try to break it up and
Right.
and win that secondary ball."
And Mexico, when Mexico had the most success they had offensively in the Sweden, that was exactly the reason why, because they were able to pressure the Swedes into giving them the ball and very close to Mexico's attacking third, and they were able to get off their best chances. But it was like when they would just let them. I don't know how many times I was watching a Swedish guy running and a Mexican guy walking toward the ball. It's like, dude, get better. I mean, come on, guys. It was nobody was running on against Sweden. They thought that they had their pase asegurado. They were going to get their little point. Punto. Yeah, that was it. And it just it didn't quite work out for Mexico. So now they're but again they're in the round of 16, as Dan pointed out, something that should be applauded, because it is as we see now, it is something that is becoming harder and harder to do in each passing World Cup. So as fans, we should acknowledge that and recognize it for what it is. I mean, it is a very good, a very decent accomplishment for Mexico. Participation medals for everybody. Mexico.
No, John, they gotta. I had them going to semis, so that's how far they gotta go.
All right, and Dan, you got them all the way to the final, right, Dan?
Dan's got them in the final.
Well, I can only assume.
I've filled like a bazillion different scenarios, but I got them winning this game. Why not? I'll go on a limb.
All right. Couple of
shocking still 1-0.
Couple of historical. I was looking for a word and se me perdió, and I can't remember what the word was. I hate that. I got a couple of historical. This isn't the word, but it'll do similarities that that Mexico has in front of them. So mentioned today that the last team that beat both Brazil and Germany in the same World Cup was Italy in 1982. They went on to win it. They beat Brazil in the quarters, and then West Germany in the final. So there's that. Mexico has that going for it. Another similarity. Hang on. Another very interesting similarity that I find incredibly fascinating. In 2002, Poland was beating the snot out of the U.S. Like, it was 3-0. I mean, the U.S. was done because they only had a +1 goal, so their goal differential was negative, and Portugal had the same amount of points as the U.S. and they were they couldn't they couldn't score against South Korea the whole game. I mean, they were just off the post, great saves, just wide, whatever it was. No se cansaron fallar, right? Korea in injury time scores a goal, knocks Portugal out, puts the U.S. in. U.S. then plays, as we all know, Mexico, a team that Mexico is like, whatever, here we go. And we know what happened. So let's fast forward to 2018, 16 years later. Mexico getting the snot beat out by a European team, in this case Sweden, 3-0. Korea gets a result against the team that would replace Mexico had they won the game, in this case Germany. And on top of everything else, Mexico is also playing a team that, quite honestly, we're like, let's just say that Brazil, in all estimations, will probably prepare a little more for Germany than they would for Mexico. So a couple of interesting coincidences that the World Cup gods are aligning for Mexico coming into this game.
You know what though, John? There's 2 players in Brazil's squad that make me nervous.
Only 2?
I mean, it's a great team. They have a really good defense. Their goalie, I think he's pretty decent. He's definitely a ball playing goalie in the Jorge Campos mold. But yeah, man, there's two players that to me it's like if those two are on the field, that means they're gonna play cat and mouse. They're gonna counterattack Mexico, and it's gonna be a transitional game, lots of speed, and that makes me nervous. To me, I think that's
Who are those players? Who are those players that you're nervous about?
one is Firmino, the Liverpool striker.
Right.
He's
He didn't
just
start though.
Yeah, that's the thing too. He doesn't start, so I mean, imagine him going at tired defender legs at the 60th minute. And the other guy is Paulino, man. I mean, he's like those two players to me. They're the modern mold of player. They're not. They really they could probably play anywhere on the field and they'd make an impact. Smart players. They're quick. They're very athletic. To me, I'm terrified of those two guys. If we can find a way to contain Paulino, contain his attacks going forward, and then also not fall into the counters. Once Firmino comes in, I think Mexico, maybe nick a corner or something and score off of that.
Well, I mean, they could certainly use the same game plan that they used against Germany, but I would have to think that Brazil's probably going to be expecting that. So, just like when Argentina played Mexico in 2010, the one variante that Mexico had at the time was Giovanni off the wing, and Maradona double teamed in the home game, and Giovanni, he never got the overlapping run. He never got any help. He couldn't do anything, and so I fully expect Brazil is going to take away, at least when they can, the long pass down to Chucky and some other stuff. I think that they're gonna decide that that's not gonna beat us.
I think that's where Chicharito has to have a big game. I think he's gonna have to take a beating and constantly be an outlet for that quick pass. I think he could. I mean, as good as they are, Chicharito could beat anybody. He could find space for himself. So if he could just do that, I still think they have a chance to do some damage on counterattacks.
Chicharito's having one hell of a World Cup. I know he didn't necessarily have the best game against Sweden, but it still wasn't a bad game. I know he had that play that I never thought was a handball, by the way, because it just looked like it hit too much of his body. It did hit his hand. Don't get me wrong, but it just hit that. I mean,
and I think the way the fact that no Swedish player was around when the ball was going away from goal, I think that was also probably weighing on the mind. It's like, man, this ball isn't anywhere near going to goal,
right?
And it's not even like remotely being like contested as far as possession goes. It was clearly Mexico's ball at that point. He was just trying to run off quick with it. I think it would have been a really harsh penalty.
Yeah, there's no question. There's no question it would have been, and the referee, just like the referee made the right decision today with the penalty between the Senegal
and you're talking about little things to look for, little omens. That to me was an omen. I know that they still got the penalty kick later on, but I do think Mexico's gotten some decent luck, contrary to prior years where they don't seem to catch any breaks. At least my memory seems to have erased all of it. If it has, I only seem to remember the bad things. But Mexico seems to getting a little bit of luck. I mean, no one ever would have expected South Korea of all teams to put up that kind of performance against Germany.
To me, what it says, and I think that this is what's lost in this whole, they got their ass beat by Germany, or I'm sorry, by Sweden, is that Mexico beat two good teams to get 6 points. I mean, South Korea was no pushover by any means. And the unfortunate thing for me in that South Korea match was that Mexico could have scored, I think, 3, even 4 goals had they continued to press the way that they were pressing. But for whatever reason, they let off the gas, and they unfortunately allowed the one goal.
Well, I think
they put themselves in trouble.
They're definitely going to have to be much more clinical with their chances if they even have a chance against Brazil. The amount of wasted chances against Germany and against South Korea, which ended up being like the difference, well, it could have been the difference. The goal differential. They can't be wasting opportunities, and they can't be giving up chances late in games or late in halves. It's just
and above all else, they absolutely cannot give away a ball 10 yards from midfield when both defenders are at the midfield stripe or very near it. They cannot do that. It is.
So you think Mexico's going to be taking the game to them?
I think initially they will. I mean, I do think. I mean, you could just see it. I mean, there were players that just were not fully match fit to play that. I mean, they just didn't have whatever for whatever reason. Vela wasn't moving around nearly as much. Layun obviously was. Herrera was having. Guardado. They all just they did not have a good game. If I were the coach, I would just practice set pieces this week.
But Mexico has Mexico scored much under Osorio with set pieces? I was trying to remember.
Yes, they have.
I was trying to remember their last set piece goal.
And they've conceded a much less also, which is probably even more important.
I don't think they've conceded under a set piece or a corner.
No, they have. They have on set pieces, but very few, just a handful. But no, but they've scored significant. Now I mean, most of the goals in the last Confed Cup were on set pieces, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, because Brazil so far they've only conceded a set piece goal to Switzerland.
I mean, Brazil's defense is a lot better than people will give them credit to. I mean, yeah, you're right, Dan. I mean, it's gonna take another. They're gonna have to hit on all cylinders in all phases of the game, and you know what? It's not just Mexico that has to play like that against Brazil to beat. I mean, it's every country in the world. I mean, Brazil is the. I know that they got beat 7-1 by Germany, but they along with Germany, there's a reason why they're always ranked number 1 and number 2 in the world. They're the 2 best teams in the world. Period. I mean, it's just.
I think from here on out, though, it's teams that could avoid the mistakes that'll go through. I think it's really that simple. Yeah. Those moments of magic are going to come off stupid mistakes.
And Mexico's going to get mistakes like that handed to them too. So that they need to take advantage of the mistakes that Brazil is going to commit, because they are going to come in. Brazil, they're not perfect. They're not. They're not robots. They will. They make human error too. And yeah, you're right. I mean, Mexico just has to take.
And that game against Serbia, played into their hands. Serbia needed to win. So
Brazil needed to win too.
Well, I think they were in first, so I mean, they didn't necessarily have to win.
But they couldn't lose.
They couldn't lose, correct? But I still think, though, as far as tactically, the incentive to bring the game forward was on Serbia, and I think that really just, if you're going to allow Brazil to counterattack you, good luck. That's where I think it depends on the circumstances of the game. I think this game the pressure's on Brazil. Mexico's expected to lose overwhelmingly, similar to going into the Germany game, even more so now because it's a knockout match.
Right.
All the pressure is on Germany. So I do think that, seeing as that Mexico tends to play better without pressure, I think this only favors Mexico.
You're absolutely right. Mexico has always in the World Cup played better when they're the underdogs, when they have a chip on their shoulder. And I got to tell you, the way that the crowd reacted and the way that the players responded to that, Mexico's got a chip on their shoulder because once again the fans, as Mexico fans do, in a span of 10 days, went from we have a chance to make the final to we're the worst team on the planet. We're the worst team on the planet. In 10 days. And
I don't understand the players though, John. Why did they go into the Sweden game, or why did they let themselves feel the pressure in the Sweden game? Why did they feel like they had to get the result? They were in control. They should have been in the driver's seat, both mentally and results wise, and then yet they acted like they were the one. Sweden needed to come out and win this game. But why did Mexico approach it like they had to win it? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's on Osorio.
It is because Osorio said it, and I saw him, and he's actually on Univision. They're playing the clip right now. He said, "I wanted to play the same way we'd been playing because we'd been so successful. And I'm sort of thinking, this is the same guy for 3 years is telling us every game is different and you got to plan for every game, blah blah blah. And he basically saying, alineación que gana, alineación que repite is basically what he was saying.
But he hasn't done that in the past 3 years. That's why.
If we're winning 1-0 in the second half and he puts in Javier Aquino for Chucky,
run for the hills. No,
I'm gonna be pretty pissed, man.
You know what? That's one guy I thought that could maybe start because, but Marcelo is not in the lineup. If Marcelo would be in the lineup, I could see Aquino.
Man, Aquino's a Brazil killer.
Yeah, I could see, but Marcelo's not there, man. So I don't think, but definitely, he was a Brazil killer in the Olympics, right?
Yeah, he was.
Now this game is setting up to be the same fourth game that Mexico's always played. They have the chip on their shoulder, they have confidence, and it's going to be almost there, but not quite enough.
Yeah, Merito again.
I don't.
Well,
yeah,
eventually
it's setting up to be that way. Like we may think they have their number, they have their chance, but it's setting up for some mistake to happen. And Mexico is not helping with Hector Moreno's not going to be playing. He picked up a dumb yellow card the first game, and then who knows if Edson Alvarez is going to be confident enough to be put back into the game. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
Honestly, if I were Osorio, I would just by throwing him out there, that should give.
I would name him. I would tell him right now you're starting.
No, I would take him out.
I'm like, don't even worry about it. I'm like, everybody has a bad day at the office. I'm like,
dude,
a lot of that stuff wasn't on you.
Half the Swedes were crying at the end of the Germany game. Players will get over it, chickies.
He was shaky the whole game. I'm not saying he can get over it, but even if he does get over it, at the very beginning of the Sweden game, he was shaky. I was not confident in him. So even at 100%, Edson Alvarez, he wasn't up to the task.
It's funny. We must have watched. I know that he had defensive issues, but that was because, he was having to make Machin's choice. Which one of these two defenders do I need to cover because I can only cover.
Which one of these four strikers am I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and offensively, I thought he actually had some moments. But,
no, man, he was brilliant. He was brilliant coming out with the ball from the back and going all the way to Sweden's defending third of the field. I thought he just needed that last play or take the shot or something.
He didn't have any overlap from his defensive partner, and the adjustment was never made, unfortunately.
Well, Osorio should have played a 3-5-2, man. I'm gonna throw that out there again. And he recognizes it, I'm sure, because he's been playing 3-4-3. When anytime the opponent plays 4-4-2, they got two strikers. He plays three in the back, and this time he went with two central defenders, and they paid.
What does Brazil play?
4-3-3. They play 4-3-3. They've been starting with Neymar on the left, Gabriel Jesus, and Coutinho on the right. So that's probably how they're gonna play, unless they take out Gabriel Jesus and put in Firmino.
And then their midfielders, was it Paulinho and Willian, and who's the other one?
No,
man, Willian is a boss, man. What a great player! Holy smokes, he's good.
It's either Willian or Coutinho on the right, and to me, Coutinho seems like he's the first choice there for them. And
then Paulinho's their contención, right?
Yeah, Paulinho, Casemiro. And dude, they got so many great midfielders, man. I mean, Paulinho's a freaking beast. They got Fernandinho, they got Casemiro. So if they want to be more defensive, they'll have both of those guys out there.
That's what I'm hoping Mexico plays with. Similar to that they did like with it was where Herrera and Guardado were both playing more in a defensive midfield kind of role.
Like in the Germany game.
Yes.
Yeah. I hope they do something similar to that. Whoever he puts in the midfield, I hope he just makes sure that two of them are sitting back most of the game. And then and I like the idea again of having Vela just open reign to just do do what you want with the ball. Go create, have fun.
Yeah, Vela obviously didn't have the legs either because he was not asking for the ball at all in the Sweden game. He was letting the ball come to him.
Yeah, he might be.
I don't know. I do think fatigue could be playing a role now. They didn't. They've had 3 games. That last game was only about 4 days.
I would almost let. I think Vela should still definitely play, but if his legs don't come back, maybe Marquito needs to come in and play there because I think Marquito would be fantastic.
That would be. I think that would be definitely a good option to try. And I do think possibly he may offer more defensively too.
Yeah, he learned to play defense for sure. At least more so than 6 years ago when they.
Because he's definitely seems like a box to box midfielder. Watching him in the Bundesliga, so I think, and like you said, he's fresh, so I think that might be a pretty good option. And maybe even bring in Vela as a sub if needed. But
I still don't understand why Osorio spent 3 years preaching to us the rotaciones, and then in the World Cup where he should be doing them because you want to keep these guys fresh.
Well, I agree with you, Juan, but you know what? I mean,
the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it's do or die. I mean, you got to go with your best guys. They didn't have a New Zealand to play in the second game.
He just undermined the problem is he undermined his whole body of work because
I don't think so. I think when he's talking about those rotaciones, in my opinion, it's more planning. I personally, and I've said this like a few times where I think those rotaciones that he kept doing was because he had the luxury of doing so, but I think it was all like playing these what if scenarios of going into game 3. If I've got if I still want to win, but I don't want to tire these guys out, I'm gonna have this second set of players who are used to playing already. But I think going into that game against Korea, he's like, I gotta get these 3 points.
I think he should have. I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say I think the thinking was that Germany will probably they'll get their 6 points, and then you don't know how it's going to shake out, but possibly you can rest the players in the game in that third game, like a lot of teams did. It's just circumstantially, they were in a position where they kind of had to go out there with their best, and now.
But they didn't. I think he should have rotated in the Sweden game. I understand he wanted to go. Oh, these guys, I want them to catch the rhythm for the knockout game, right? But he should have just look. He turned against all his founding tenets. One, play to neutralize the opponent's strengths.
That I agree with.
He didn't do that.
His tactics were stupid. Yeah.
And then one of another founding tenets, there's not a starting 11. It's a squad of 23 players with a group of about 6 or 7 that are.
Somos un equipo de 23 jugadores donde en cualquier momento indicado se va a requerir un jugador que juegue en una posición a donde no está acostumbrado, pero tiene la experiencia porque cuando estuvimos en Honduras en el noviembre del 2015, so he's very specific when he speaks.
So look, and the reason I'm pointing this out is because mentally, he brought in the psychologist to sell these guys, this group of players, they're all at the same level. Any one of them can step in and replace another player because he built a team. He didn't choose a starting 11. He built a team for whatever reason, and so when you're going into a tournament and you're selling these guys on, hey, any one of you guys can play, like you build them up and then boom, you just broke down your team mentally, at least to me, because you just sold them on they're all worthy. Wait, but you know what? These 11 are worthy a little bit more, and so I think now he undermined his own process to me. Maybe you guys don't see it that way, but. I think because now, I mean, can Tecatito jump in and say, hey, you know what? I'm just as effective as Chucky, or, I mean, well, I think he hurt his own process with that.
Damn,
I think you definitely have a point. I mean, I just think that the way it played out, you had a. No, I just I guess I think he was a little bit arrogant though with the whole Sweden thing, thinking that they could dictate how the game was going to be played instead of being like you said, planning to neutralize the opponent. That's why I kind of was expecting Hugo Ayala would play, but I mean, I think one of the reasons that I think that kind of helped Edson was that they kind of threw him into the game as it was already like in the middle of it, so he kind of didn't really get a chance to think. As opposed to being the starter and just I just think that the circumstances were different. But as far as tactically, I definitely think he kind of went against his philosophy. I'll give him a break on the rotaciones. I don't think he. I I just think that's just the way it played out, man.
I honestly, in all sincerity, never expected him to make. If he was going to make any changes in a lineup, it wasn't going to be more than 3 at the most, maybe 2. But there was no way that he was going to do 5 and 6 from game to game. It just you have to have your best players, period. And you can tell them what you want to tell them, but you have to have the ones that are playing at the best of the time.
Do you think he'd throw out possibly maybe like a 3-4-3?
Let's hope not.
Against Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but when you play Brazil,
I hope not.
you have to have 2 contenciones on the field, and the fact you just have to.
Well, I'm just saying the way he's depending on how he sets the team up, I could see how that would work if you set it up with 2 defensive midfielders and three center defenders.
Yeah, so possibly, I suppose, but
I think he's going with a back line of 4. He might even use Machín, Ayala, Salcedo, and Gallardo, and just tell them to don't venture forward like at all. Just sit back and play long balls to just try to counter.
God, I hope so.
Yeah, the worst thing that could happen, or I mean, let me just say, if they do venture forward, the midfielder has to try. I mean, he has to track back. Period. They have to switch off. There's no way you can have both of them up there. You just can't. You can't allow, as you guys have pointed out, a team like Brazil. You can't give them an opportunity like that to counter because they will. I mean, oof. They know how to do it pretty well.
No, especially. I'm telling you, man. If I see Firmino in that starting lineup, I'm gonna be shitting my pants.
Yeah,
he scares me, man.
Like you did on our special edition post.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't realize the mic was that good. Hey, these iPhones, man, I guess they're built pretty well, huh?
Yeah, it was impressive. It was impressive.
My bad, John. I know you were probably like at work in the producer's booth, so I apologize, John.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Indeed, yes. It just no. As far as the rest of the round of 16 goes, we talked a lot about that with Mr. Meconico earlier, but Mexico has if they can somehow manage to get by Brazil, they'll play in all likelihood Belgium, but I certainly wouldn't count Japan out because Japan has shown proven to be a very capable team in this tournament. It's certainly more defensive than what Belgium played in the first round by playing Tunisia and Panama. So,
hey, did England purposely tank the Belgium the final game with Belgium to avoid Japan? Is that what happened?
No, they didn't. I mean, both teams played reserves, so I don't think they cared one way or the other where they ended up. But I mean, Belgium, I think they probably would have been happy with a 0-0 game, but both of them. But Belgium got a really good goal.
Yeah,
you can't tell them not to shoot. It's.
I would want to avoid Colombia.
Yeah, Colombia is one of those teams that's going from menos de más, and they have.
And the whole menos is misleading too. Who knows how that game turns out if they don't get that red?
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But
yeah.
but they have They got another player that can not James. I mean, because James is hurt, but Radamel that can he can catch fire too, and he could be a Schillaci or a Rossi or a Lineker who just goes nuts in the next round.
They're winning. I definitely have them winning. I think what's also I think we've seen also is some of these teams that are young. The moment tends to get the most gets the best of them. I think.
Right. That's another intangible that I think that is in Mexico's favor. Is I mean, this is an experienced team. A lot of these guys are playing their third, some their fourth. There is a lot of World Cup experience on that. I mean, this is really Mexico's. This is the best chance they're ever going to have to do it, to get to the quarterfinal. And to me, that's why I think it's so appropriate that it's this group, and it's so appropriate that it's Brazil.
Man, that atmosphere is going to be insane.
So
how many of these
there
players,
are a lot of intangibles that are lining up in Mexico's favor. Mexico needs intangibles.
Very much so.
Intangibles are like anabolic, karmic anabolic steroids. See what we can do there. But no, it's. I personally believe the stars are aligning for this game. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh my gosh, you're starting to believe.
Hey, all I know is that like I said, from that time that Kroos goal hit the freaking net until the end of the Korea game, I had a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach for 4 days. I was like, man, it's like.
I don't think for 1 second these guys aren't aware of how much they've lost to Mexico. I think they're BSing themselves if they BSing everybody if they're going to say they haven't, if they aren't aware of it. I think some of that stuff kind of does weigh on you. I know that Mexico finally got over that hump with Germany, but I think the history what they had against Argentina. I think that's weighed on them in the previous games. Like all those losses, they're carrying it with them going into that next match. I think, and on some level, I think that might not to say that they're remotely scared, but that maybe they're not as maybe they'll have some doubt because a lot of those players have lost to Mexico. Well, I don't know how many of them actually, but I know Neymar has, and that to me is already Juan, you seem to have a better memory of that Olympic squad.
but Mexico's team or Brazil's?
Oh, Brazil's team. Of how many of these guys on the current squad have actually faced Mexico?
You know what? I remember some of the starters. I don't remember everybody.
Who's the central? Diego Silva.
Thiago Silva.
Neymar was on that. Marcelo was on that team.
I think they had Juan because you're allowed the 3 overage players.
Oscar was on that team.
I don't think attacking midfielder. Yeah. Neymar, Hulk.
That's right.
Who was the goalie? It wasn't Ederson. I don't think it was Ederson. It was wasn't it let me. You know what? I'm gonna look it up really quick. But I know Mexico. Marco Fabian was there. HH.
Raul Jimenez, Giovanni.
But you don't think like in the minds like on the field, then you probably know better than any of us. You played and you're a coach. Psychologically, amongst both sides, you could point and look at other guys on the other side of the field that you've beaten.
I've always felt that Brazil is to Mexico, or Mexico is to Brazil, as what the U.S. is to Mexico. It is for whatever reason the one team they can't lose to, and I think that Mexico has an advantage of that.
Yeah.
They have a psychological advantage against Brazil. They don't quite have it yet with Argentina, but they definitely have it with Brazil.
They don't have it remotely close to Argentina.
No.
I'd be shitting bricks. I'd be like, "There's no fucking way we're winning this one." If it was, I don't think.
You know what? They gotta meet them in the final. Like in a final, I think all that stuff goes out the window.
Well, if things break a certain way, it could be in the semifinals in this one.
Yeah, and I know we talked about our picks. I had a Belgium Argentina final.
Yeah, but now it'll be a semifinal if they play.
So let me see. It's I think from Brazil squad. There's a guy named the goalie was named Gabriel, but he's not on the senior team. Rafael something, Juan Jesus, Rafael Pereira de Silva. He's not on the squad this year. You know what? A lot of those guys might have been canned. Sandro, is he still around?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, but you still pointed out two big ones.
I mean, Neymar, Marcelo.
Thiago Silva was on that team, wasn't
he? Yeah, Thiago Silva. He was a captain, man.
So I mean, like that's all I'm basically saying. I don't mean the whole team, yeah. But like
the three. Yeah,
and more so for the Mexicans on the team, where they're like, look, dude, that dude, we already kicked their ass.
Yep.
Exactly.
We just have to go there and do it again.
Leandro Damayo, is he on the squad this year? Nope, they didn't call him up.
Well, let's be honest. Brazil could call up like 3 teams, and they would all be in the round of 16.
And they would all be favored against Mexico.
Exactly.
I mean, let's.
But the reality is they'd be favored on against just about every team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
Except Mexico and Norway.
Exactly. Norway, for whatever reason, has Brazil's number. They were they the last team to beat Brazil in the group stage? I think they were. I don't think Brazil's lost the group game since. In fact, that's the only one I remember them losing at all. So you're right, Juan. Maybe Mexico needs to study. Of course, they need to grow like a foot.
And gain like
to a man. Exactly. And yeah, that was interesting. The size difference between the Swedes and the Mexicans when they were shaking hands, going down the line at the beginning of the match.
Dude, Tolstoy, the captain, what's his name? I forgot how to pronounce it.
Number 4, the penalty kicker.
Yeah, the penalty number 4. Yeah.
He looks like someone's dad.
He looks like man. I'm the dad bod. He had a beard, good, and he's
he's a hell of a defender.
He's like in his mid-40s. He looked like, but man, yeah, he was tough, man. Just a big guy, man.
You remember Jaap Stam, the Dutch guy that went up against Matador, and then like for 80 minutes, man, he was just destroying Matador until the very end when he didn't have any legs anymore, and Matador got him. But man, that guy was just an absolute bulldog, and that's what this guy reminded me of a little bit. Maybe not as intimidating as Yap, but yeah, he definitely locked some stuff down.
I all those games, the 98, 94, actually, I heard them on the radio. I don't think I got to see them.
Really?
Yeah, man. Can you believe that?
Wow.
The Copa America games in the 90s as well, the early 2000s.
Yeah, because back then the Copa America was on pay-per-view, man. It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
In fact, that was back when pay-per-view, and I don't want to date myself, but like the pay-per-view channels would be all like you could hear the audio, but the signal was like a scrambled image, just sitting there shaking, and every 45 seconds so you actually might catch an image, but at least you could listen to it. So yeah, that was they didn't start televising that on over the air till like 2001. I think everything else was pay-per-view at the time, but it was on the radio, huh? So you didn't get to see the miracles of the comebacks against Belgium and Holland.
No, man, I heard them on the radio. Because I remember they had the little jingle marcador, or
Right.
tiro de esquina.
Tiro de esquina. Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was Caracol. It wasn't even Andres Cantor. It came from Colombia.
Oh,
It was it was Cadena Radio Colombiano Caracol was the I remember
the
that.
feed was Colombian then. No
Yeah, it
wonder.
was Colombian. Yeah.
Yeah, man. All those games, it's freaking. I had nobody to drive me to Rita's. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys.
Well, you could have just watched on TV. You could have just watched it on TV. No, they were just it's unfortunate you get a chance to see them. They were it was really some very, very good, probably the best Mexico's ever played in a World Cup was that France 98. That was outstanding.
You know what, Jonto? I remember that they got criticized because they que entraron de panzazo, because they depended on the result of the other game. I think the Belgium game. Even though, at the end, I mean, looking
At
back,
the end, yeah, they got the result. But you know what? Sometimes that happens, man.
no, but I know, but I'm saying like right now it's the same scenario. They kind of they weren't really in until the last day, and I think in '94 kind of the same scenario, right? They weren't in until the last day. They ended up winning the group. I
Yeah, they
think.
did because of goal differential. Because actually, not even goal. It was they won that group because they had the most goals because everyone was tied in goal differential. I mean, all four teams because they all had the same amount of points. Because they all won one, lost one, and tied one, so they all had 4 points.
The original group of death.
Mexico scored the most goals in their games. Because they had the 1-2, all the wins were 1-0, except Mexico's Ireland when it was 2-1, and because of that, Mexico won the group. They won because of most goals. They scored 3 goals. Everyone else scored 2. They won 1-0, and then Ireland and Norway tied 0-0, if I'm not mistaken.
And Mexico tied Italy that time, right? I think they tied
1-1. 1-1.
Italy got to the final, So you
yeah,
think
Italy
that,
ended up in third place. They ended up in third place. They barely qualified, and then in their round of 16 match against Nigeria, they had a very soft handball called against Nigeria that Roberto Baggio was able to cash in to win the game. And I mean, Nigeria was they were favorites. They were the favorites in that game. I mean, and then Italy. Then Baggio caught fire. I mean, he got that one. They played great against Spain. He scored the goals against Bulgaria. I mean, it was
but he
players
missed the most
catch
important
good players catch fire. I mean, that's why. I mean, it would not shock me to see a Messi or a Suarez or something like that. But that's why I think Argentina is so dangerous in this round of 16 because they eke their way into the round. I mean, Argentina, despite winning, it wasn't the win that put it. It was the fact. It's the fact that Iceland didn't win. Also, I mean, they were dependent on other results too. Just winning alone was not enough for them. They had to have they had to have an and, not an or, for their combination.
Hey man, Croatia looks like they're starting to click too. I mean, they're pretty good.
Right. Like case in point, Mexico's criteria was a tie or a win, or a loss by Germany.
Or like a 3-2 loss or a 2-1 loss.
Well, yeah, whatever it was. Yeah, so they had a bunch of ors. I mean, Mexico's case wasn't a tie or a win and a loss by Germany. They did get help. There's no question, but they for Mexico they didn't have to. They had the luxury of if they don't get it done, this could still happen for us. Argentina didn't have that luxury because if Argentina didn't get it done, they were out. Period. Regardless of what happened in the other match, they were out. So it was a very big win for them. a huge win, and they got the help they needed from. I mean, Andres Cantor called. I don't know which goal he called more passionately: the Korea goal in the game yesterday, or the Croatia goal when they scored their second goal against Iceland. He called that one pretty. He actually, I've really enjoyed Telemundo's coverage. I don't know if you guys have a chance to watch much of it. It has been extremely entertaining. That they've had some good announcers. I know that when the World Cup first started, we were wondering about Mr. Cantor's energy at the beginning. It obviously picked up, and I think that now that the World Cup has I mean, he was these last few games have just been outstanding. I mean, he's really. I mean, the Colombia one today was just amazing. He had just a very passionate, emotional call. It was a lot of fun to listen to. It's been a really entertaining group stage. I'm not so sure if it was as good as the one in 2014. I think that one was excellent. I think this one was great too. I think that there weren't as many really good games, but there were plenty of good games. It was just a lot of fun. So it starts to tighten up. It starts to tighten up.
A lot more. I think I was reading that this is one of the World Cups where like every team scored at least 2 goals or something like that.
Right.
And this is one of the first times it happens. Or did you mention that, or did I hear it on TV?
I didn't say it. You must have heard it on TV. But they're right though. I mean, even Panama scored 2 goals. Panama had a 1-0 lead. Y le voltearon la tortilla a Panama, pobrecitos, and they lost.
Not good.
Lost 2-1. They had a -9 goal differential when it was all said and done. So, but you know what? They were happy to take it. They were happy to have it. They were just thrilled to play in the tournament, and good for them.
I think they can grow from this, right?
Of course they can. Dan, as you were saying,
no, who?
Panama.
Yeah, I think they have room for growth for sure.
No, they were.
I felt quite good seeing that moment with Baloy.
I felt really good for him. I am 100% in agreement with you, Dan. That was a cool moment for the country. Extra cool that it was him. For someone who played well in Liga MX for
I think he represents the league on some level for sure. Yeah. At least historically. I mean,
he was the captain when Monterrey won all their titles, or one of them at least. Starting defender for them for many years. Yeah, he was. There's actually 14 Liga MX players left in the tournament. It's the seventh most represented league in the players that are left in the tournament.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How does it compare to MLS?
MLS has 4, and of course 3 of those are Mexico.
Of them on Mexico's team.
Yeah, so Mexico it was like 9 Mexicans, and it was an Argentine and some Colombians, and a Japanese player.
Who's the 4th guy from MLS though? Because I know
it was some guy from Sweden, but of course the Japanese player from Mexico was Honda. I haven't had a chance to do that in a long time. I just had to throw it in there. Who scored a goal, by the way? Has scored a goal in this tournament. He scored the equalizer, like walking onto the pitch and scoring the equalizer against Senegal, which proved to be for Japan the goal that put them in the knockout stage, because they qualify for the knockouts on the 4th tiebreaker, which is fair play, which is based on tarjetas, which I don't know how I feel about that. I think there has to be another criteria, or at least draw lots, because sometimes you have to take a yellow card, and you shouldn't have to be punished as to whether or not you advance in a tournament because of that. I mean, it's part of the game.
Hey, John, did you mention Rafa Marquez's letter to the public? Like, he didn't really specify it to who it is, but he went on Twitter. I don't know. And I guess he says he just wanted to comment to all the saw the mediocre people saying that it was a fracaso and entraron de panzazo, that they were being extremely negative and that they were mediocre. Because the talking heads, they're having a field day with his Twitter statement. I don't know if you got a chance to.
No, I saw it. Yeah. What was so bad with about him saying that? Well, why are they having a field day?
Well, I think they're saying he's attacking the fans. That he's telling the fans to shut up, basically. To don't complain. But I think to me they're having artistic freedom with his words. I think they're taking them out of context.
Of course they are.
Yeah,
He's
but
not attacking
basically,
the fans.
yeah,
I think he's attacking a certain segment of folks that, that when stuff like this happen, they come out of the woodwork to do nothing but throw shit all over the team.
Yeah, and I think he's throwing it at the Faitersons, at the Joserras, at anytime the team, to me it's directed at them, but he's not gonna come out and say, hey, hateful press. I just think it's an interesting angle. I think
yeah, but I mean,
press,
isn't that just the press being the press? I mean, anything to sell.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's true. I mean, they were trying to provoke, they were trying to bait La Volpe. I think La Volpe had an interview with Faitelson regarding Osorio's tactics, and they were pretty much, he was trying to create controversy one way or another, saying that La Volpe had been a mediocre manager compared to Osorio. And La Volpe is just like, dude, just he was trying to not give him anything. I think he regretted going on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rafa, Chicharito said something today. I don't know if it was on Instagram or wherever it was, but he mentioned, something not necessarily with those same words, but kind of the same message. Like, hey guys, it didn't happen by accident. It happened because we did this and this. So let's not lose sight of that fact. But let's not lose sight of the fact that we've got work to do. Whatever it is. And I'm actually really proud of Chicharito because he has taken over the leadership of the team, and as happy as I was seeing that picture, I was also a little and of course this is just a moment in time, but like if you see how the other people are reacting to it, it was a little telling, and that was a little disturbing. But again, that's just a split second and a moment of time. You don't know what could happen after that. So with some of the other players not paying attention, but
oh yeah,
but then I saw some other pictures where everyone had his complete attention, and it was, I'm happy for Chicharito to do that. I mean, somebody had, he is, I would just go ahead and just give him if Guardado doesn't start and Rafa doesn't start, give him the gafete, because
that's why I think he's gonna be a starter for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean he is the, he has assumed that role, and let's see if he delivers. I hope so. For his sake, I hope for his sake it does. He's at that point in his career where this is where you need something like that out of him, and he went for his first World Cup where he scores a goal and he doesn't know who to celebrate with, to yelling at the team for playing a medio gas when they absolutely could not afford to play a medio gas and got their asses whipped every which way. And good on him. I hope that hopefully they will listen to what he had to say and take it to heart. We'll see how that turns out. Now, I do have a couple of audio clips I wanted to share with y'all. This is you guys have heard all the other goal calls that we've heard over the World Cup, but we do have a couple more. This one is our friend Lalo, who this is Chicharito's goal. Here we go. Let's see. We'll start from the beginning. Here we go.
Contragolpe de la selección mexicana. Chucky, dásela Chicharo. Regrésale el favor. Chicharito, con permiso, Mr. Bruce Lee. ¡Tiro! ¡Gol! de Chicharo. Váyanse a las águilas los que dicen que solo en amistosos mete gol. Gol número 50.
So there was our boy Lalo. And then I was also able to find this, which I just absolutely loved. This is, let me see if I can find, oh, it's over here on this side. Give me 2 seconds. But this is just riveting listening right now. Let's see if I can find this here. Yeah, here it is. All right, this is
그렇죠. 자, 노이어까지 올라왔기 때문에 지금 독일의 골문에는 아무도 없습니다. 자, 일단 총 공세를 우리가 버텨내야겠습니다. 조현우 펀칭 좋아요. 오늘은 노이어보다 조현우입니다. 그렇죠.
See if you can guess what happens here.
노이어가 올라왔습니다. 노이어가 좋아요. 자, 반대쪽 손흥민 있습니다. 손흥민 달려.
Venga, Corea, no te...
Anyway, so that was the. Those are some goal calls from earlier in the week that I've been able to find. You see that we have another panelist has joined our podcast. A little late, but better late than never. He always likes to, just because you're late. Usually, I play different theme music for him, but tonight, como castigo, I think there's only one thing we can play to introduce him. Of course, I'm talking about Joel Aceves, who joins us from Orange County. Joel, how are you, sir?
Pretty good, man. I fell asleep, John. I knocked out completely.
That's okay, Joel. We understand. You missed. We had a chance to talk to Kit McConico. You could have had a good hour's worth of Argentina talk. But because I know that Argentina is your little movida that you have on the side.
Yeah, and, I actually had. I was talking to an old friend of mine from over there. It's a bit nervous.
Okay.
Yeah, but he seemed more excited about the other games. I don't know if that's their way of coping.
Well, they do have a big one now. Joel, you were able to join us on the on our special post game edition that we had yesterday afternoon. And thanks to the folks that participated with us on that. And 24 hours later, Joel, do you knowing that you did not have Mexico advancing out of the group stage is at what point for you now is this a successful World Cup for Mexico because they exceeded your expectations?
Yeah, I would say it is. I mean, I know the expectation is the 5th game, but I wouldn't call this a fracaso. I do feel that Mexico's group was the group of death. It was that one group where even at 6 points, you weren't guaranteed. Advancing to the next round, and you had quite the surprises going in there. But yeah, I think Mexico had that chance where they would have had that easy road as we talked about before, and that's pretty much it's gone now. Nos tocó bailar con la más fea, as they say. Now we have Brazil as
well, in true Liga MX Liguilla fashion, que le 8 le gana al 1, and there you go.
Yeah, and and I also agree with you about how Mexico matches well with Brazil, and that seems like a good opponent to take on, and it's like you were saying, if you beat Germany and Brazil, you position yourself to win the whole cup. But I'm seeing it as Mexico is going up against Brazil, but they're kind of going up against them at I wouldn't say the worst time possible, but they're getting there without their two best defenders. Araujo missed the World Cup, and Lesion, and Hector Moreno is suspended. So I think when Mexico does play Brazil, they have to be at their best. They have to have all the other top players, and
does Hugo Ayala have in him the Hector Reynoso emergency Gold Cup final appearance performance?
Oh man, yeah, that was unexpected.
Does he have that? Does he have that in him?
Who knows, man? It remains to be seen, man. That's how they say you have to play the game. You have to play the game, but yeah, a lot of these matchups look like they're gonna be pretty good. Pretty good.
They do. They do indeed.
Yeah, man. I just got to see a little bit of the England Belgium. I think Belgium is that. What's that Sports Illustrator?
Grant
what's
Wall.
The dude's name, right? Grant Wall. I keep forgetting his name, but he did have Mexico beating Brazil and then losing to Belgium.
I think he has Belgium playing. Is it Spain in the final?
Yeah, he has them losing in the final, right?
Yeah, I mean, which frankly looks like a really solid bet. I mean, Belgium and Spain both. But no one though has really dominated their group. I know Belgium got 9 points, and so did Uruguay. But
Croatia.
Did Croatia get 9 points too? They did. Yes,
sir. Yeah.
Mexico could have had 9 points.
Oh man!
But
would have been the first time ever that they win all 3 games.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, you could win all 3 games and lose around a 16 game. ¿Qué importa?
Well, I mean, just for record's sake.
Well, I understand, but I mean, that's like, well, I could use certain analogies, but it's like, it's like you won a chance for something really cool that you failed at. I mean, it's just to me, it's kind of anyway. I don't want to belittle. 9 points is impressive. There's no question. Winning all 3 games is something that I don't think Mexico's even done in a Copa America. They have done in the Gold Cup though, but not very often because Mexico usually draws a couple in the Gold Cup too. So it's definitely, you've talked me into it, Juan. It is an impressive accomplishment. Now that I'm thinking about it. You were very persuasive, Joel. You were very persuasive.
Drinking a Dos X now.
So Joel, now that we have you on,
Profe left. Dude, I must smell. Se fue Profe, se fue Dan.
Did you cut one like the Profe did on Wednesday, Joel?
Oh no, man, Profe was rotting away that night.
And I do want to apologize to our listeners for having to be subjected to that. That was, I know I play a lot of drops and audio effects. There are things I just draw the line on. We have a variety of drops that we play on the show. We have our something important happens. There's like especially for Chivas when things are going bad. There's always the important news. We have all of our America stuff, which we will be jumping into again once the league. So even Joel's. Just so we can go down memory lane, we have one for Joel.
Yes.
Whenever we need to give you a little pick me up, we're able to do that for Joel. So yeah, we have. But I just would never, have those count.
I think he was just really excited.
Well, excited. He hadn't fed the dog, so maybe it was. There was something going on with that.
Hey, I was gonna tell you guys that group from Monterrey, Los Tres. Man, it's a tongue twister.
Los Tres Tristes Tigres.
Yeah, there you go. They did a selección song. So there's 2 really good selección songs. One is a corrido I forgot this comedian. I forget his name. It's Charlie something. He does really funny voiceovers, and then they did a song just recently too.
Well, yeah, those guys actually are great time. And by the way, how about a little? We were asking the fans to be more creative before the World Cup. Joel, you particularly, you want them to, and they actually came up with some new cheers. You know, some new things to say. You know, they do the El Chucky Lozano to the Seven Army song. They do that, and they did it to Profe Osorio during the Korea
I
game.
don't think that's creative. I was hearing the Seven Nation Army song since way back in the 2006 World Cup.
At least they're coming up with their own words for it for the first time ever. That's what I'm saying.
But you know, we got so many brilliant troubadours. We got all these
paso a paso. Well, they also came up with the chant, the amigos coreanos ahora son hermanos. So there was that.
Yeah, but it's those are like little catchphrases, man. We got like, you know, and we talked about this before.
You have to start somewhere. You have to. I mean, it sounded a hell of a lot better than hearing puto over and over and over again.
It does, and it does better than the Cielito Lindo 10, 15 minutes into the match.
No, Cielito Lindo is a post-goal song. That is a post-goal song.
Yeah, or it was when you have the match won and then you're celebrating.
Exactly.
It was like the celebration song. Or maybe your team's losing and you're you know, you're giving them the send-off. You know, sing and don't cry. But then it became at like, okay, let's just start singing it at 10 minutes into the game. And then it became something with marketing, you know. If you go to Molero games, the stadium would start playing it at the 30-minute mark.
Well, the other chant that they were doing a lot and then doing at the beginning of the matches was the como ven somos locales otra vez.
Yeah, a lot of those are old though. They're just, you know,
hey,
they weren't.
But again, at least you heard them, Joel. I mean, again, these are.
So I want more, John. I demand more.
Well,
I think Mexico has this brilliant catalog.
Not built in a day.
It wasn't, but all it takes is one group to do it, and then be loud enough, and then everyone's gonna start. You know, Chile Nacional is the other. You know, va a probar el Chile Nacional is one of the old. You know, it's one of the old ones too.
Did Germany probar el Chile Nacional? Did they have an overdose? Is that what happened?
They did of two different Chiles. But you have songs like, you know, we talked about this a while back, how like in Argentina or even in England, they use like the lyrics from songs that they have. You know, so you have like Fito Páez singing "Dale alegría a mi corazón," and the Argentine fans turn it into a song. And when it comes to that, I think Mexicans have a brilliant catalog of stuff. You know, so you have some songs like Volver, Volver, you know, you could sing that one and it will be really good. You see the lyrics to that song.
Fan of the song Guadalajara, which I think is the iconic Mexican song, period, hands down. There's no second. Why Mexico fans don't at least do the ay 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 chant of that song during a match is beyond me. It's beyond me.
I know there's so many great stuff to choose from, man, and we go with Seven Nation Army, which other teams are doing it. Even Cielito Lindo, the Spanish fans were doing that way before the Mexicans. So I don't know what's going on right there, John. We're lacking so much in creativity when it's you know, you have these other groups and
for all you know, comedians. Maybe Seven Nation Army started in you know, at a Unión de Curtidores game. I mean, we don't know. You know, or over at the Jaiba Brava in Tampico. By the way, Jaiba Brava and Pumas square off in the Copa MX. Not that I'm up to date on all the grupos, but I did happen to catch UNAM's schedule, and they had a little side from the Copa MX, and they get to play the Jaiba. So the two the two uniforms that constantly compete for the best uniform in Mexican soccer, going head to head, see who wears it best. And of course, there's also Leones Negros, Joel. You should. Well, next time you go to Guadalajara, you should pick up a Leones Negros shirt.
That shirt reminds me of the hot dog on a stick.
The corn dog.
The corn dog, man. It's like I feel like drinking some lemonade. It looks. That's what it looks like. And if you guys have a chance to,
when I was
Google
a kid, I know what you mean. That striped shirt was always the home shirt, and then the away shirt was always an all white strip, and the escudo was enlarged in the middle, kind of like the Pumas used to do. And it was that really cool León Negro logo, kind of big in the middle, black in the middle of a white shirt.
Yeah.
It was badass.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know why they haven't. They got a plenty to work on right there.
And that's a popular team in Guadalajara. I would venture to say that if they somehow manage the way to solidify themselves in the first division, they're going to give Atlas a hell of a run for popularity.
Yeah, and you could see people jumping ship because Atlas has just been a clusterfuck for
they've been.
I'm surprised their fans hang on as long as they have. That's people make fun of Cruz Azul, but we said it here, John. Atlas is the real Cruz Azuleada, man. They're the real deal. You'd start talking about Cruz Azuleada, Atlas is like, hold my beer.
Yeah, no.
At least Cruz Azul has these brilliant eras, La Máquina and
Atlas says, hold my pony keg.
Atlas has what was the last time they lost the final in 90? Somewhere in the 90s against Cardoso.
Right. Oh, like 97 or 99 or something like that.
Yeah, I remember Marquez was
crying.
I think was probably his last tournament in Mexico before he left to Monaco. But I remember Marquez scores his penalty and he grabs his crotch. He was showing his testicular fortitude.
Well, if we see Rafa in the Brazil match, then hopefully that'll be a good sign because that means that Mexico is winning.
You see him starting then?
No, we were talking about that earlier. I mean, it has to be Salcedo and Ayala in the middle, and Machin has to play on the wing again. It has to. As long as someone helps, Machin not have to deal with 2-on-1s because that was bad defense. It was Sweden always had the numerical advantage. It was at least on the plays where they got the goals. Muy pobre. Unfortunate for Mexico because I was thinking about that. They got a goal scored on a rebound and then of course a penalty and then an autogol. So like the three worst ways to get scored on. Not necessarily in the run of play. Just happy. The two were happy accidents. It was rough. It was a lot of bad luck in one game. Hopefully, the soccer god smiled on them with giving them Germany's, by virtue of not winning. Even if they drew, they were out. But then Korea got the 2 goals and ultimately knocked them out. They're gone, Joel. They're back in Germany. They flew from the stadium. They went to the airport. Out of the stadium and went straight back to Germany. No se quedaron.
I know. The champion's curse, John. They were hit with the champion's curse.
Is the champion's curse as big as the number 1 seed in the Liguilla, the number 1 seed curse in the Liguilla?
It's right up there, yeah. Campeonitis. In Mexico, they call it the campeonitis. Yeah, it's pretty similar, man. But like you said, John, Brazil's been the only one. So it seems to be a European thing, The European champions curse.
And not to cheapen Mexico's win, because I won't. But instead of saying, this cheapens Mexico, how about you say, you know what? Mexico broke them.
Mexico broke them.
A little PR, little PR. You don't say, "Oh, this cheapens Mexico." No. Mexico broke Germany. They broke Germany.
That would be the better way of looking at it. But I'm a bit amargado, John. You know me. I saw Germany coming in broke already.
Exactly, because Mexico broke them. Mexico broke. Well, so here's what I have to say about that, Joel, is that in the lead up to Brazil, at least in the friendlies, Germany didn't look like world beater. They tied Cameroon.
Yeah.
2-2, and Cameroon ended up in 32nd place in the World Cup, and obviously, Germany ended up in first.
Yeah, but leading up to this World Cup, they were like on a 7-match winless streak. I mean, even if you're, Alemania just doesn't do that. 7 games.
Puro friendly way, ¿qué importa?
Hey, well, it did to them, man. I mean, I think there was something there.
Look, if Germany were slumping, and then to me, if you're going to show up and cagarte, do what don't even have chances to go. Germany, they couldn't. I mean, they had generated gobs of chances of goals in all 3 games. So it wasn't that they were playing badly. They just no fueron contundente, which is the one thing I think in our entire lifetime we've never seen Germany be is not be efficient in front of goal. It's who they are.
They were like Hugo Sanchez Olympic team.
Exactly. The ghost of Santi Fernandez.
Missing shot after shot with the qualification on the line. And these guys
isn't there some spell in the Harry Potter series where you enter the body of somebody else? Somebody cast the Santi Fernandez spell on Germany.
It worked. Whoever that did, bless your soul. Yeah.
I mean, they were playing bad. People say, well, their midfielders are probably but they were still, again. I mean, they probably had like 20-something shots on goal in each one of those games. Seriously,
they did. Even the Mexican
bad team.
Yeah, and because you talk about, a lot of people are saying how that's Mexico's probably best match in World Cup history ever against Germany. Now I'm not too sure about that, but if you look at the stats, Germany dominated the game against Mexico. Possession shots pretty much in every line if you look at it.
Well, I mean, that's usually what happens. That's usually Marcelo se recuperó, so Marcelo will be available. That is good news for Mexico.
Speaking of Harry Potter, Harry Potter or spells, I think the Cruz Azuleada, man, I think it backfired. Backfired on the fans, John. I think they threw some bad mojo.
I couldn't agree more. Joel.
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
That's exactly what Mexico did.
Because I think that was just in bad taste. Because that's like a time-honored tradition. If you're at a World Cup and and for anybody that's been to one or that's gonna go to one, it's one of the beautiful things about being in that ambiente. You're gonna be next to a bunch of fans from all over the world, and for the most part, they're all friendly, and that's a big thing. Sometimes that you'll trade jerseys.
Sure.
You guys are partying, and it's like it becomes like a memory. So here you go. So to have a bunch of Mexico fans that they took Cruz Azul jerseys, and you're with some well-to-do wishing fans, and you give them that sort of like in bad taste, like here so that your team can lose. It's kind of messed up, They're buying your drinks and stuff, and here you are trying to curse them. So I think it came back, just because the ill intent. That's why it came back.
Well, that's why, and I think I pointed it out on Twitter. I mean, if you need those kinds of symbols, to get you through something, send the ones that have the positive mojo. The Pumas. Chicharito scores a goal. What is in front of that goal? There's 2 Pumas symbols.
There. Yeah. Yeah, the roaring Puma, yeah, man.
I mean, or Santo, teams that have good mojo. Cruz Azul, they, let Peláez do his thing. Hopefully, his hit points will be enough to overcome the scourge, which I do think that topic for another day. But I think you and I are both very bullish on Cruz Azul's chances to
yes.
to remove all the grayscale.
Grayscale. Yeah, I do think. They're leaving their old stadium, which, funny enough, there was a lot of talk that it was cursed. I think it was their training grounds they were built next to a cemetery. So they're leaving all of that stuff behind. They're moving back to the, mystical Azteca. That's where they live some of their great moments.
Where their stadium is being built.
Yeah. So, but you've seen like how Pelai's been building the team, and it's very impressive.
No, he has definitely made some moves that. But I don't want to get into the whole because we have World Cup to talk about.
World Cup.
So the other. No, all right, go ahead.
No, really quick. I mean, it's a big change from other seasons when Cruz Azul, they would bring in like a striker and they would get him so late that he wasn't ready to play till like 3-4 match weeks in.
Jornada 7.
Yeah, Jornada 7. This is our new striker. And, and then it takes him 4 more jornadas to even adjust.
What Cruz Azul now has, which they haven't had in 10 years, is seriedad. They have seriedad. They have a purpose. They have a plan. They have someone who has a vision, and they just haven't had that. So let's see how it all. Poor Marquitos. He's going off to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. The time difference won't necessarily allow him, although he can still watch the games because Liga MX is big in Malaysia. He's going to find out. But Cruz Azul is going to start doing well, and he's not going to get a chance to see it.
He's streaming. He's going to have that Chivas TV streaming.
Well, I don't know if he wants to. Well, I'm sure he'll be living in the Petronas Towers, so. I think his internet's going to be okay. Anyway, so back to the World Cup. Before we?
Hey, he could do that old school following, where where you get the old magazines and you're getting the results from last month.
Weeks later. Weeks later, that Cruz Azul has 15 points after 7 games.
Oh man.
Or whatever it is. So Joel, back to the World Cup, Joel. So we have the round of 16. We haven't actually gone through the round, but we'll go ahead and let me see if my trusty little calendar has filled in the teams on my little app yet. Hopefully it has. Let's see if it's all in the place. It has. How about that? So we have France. How about this day? France, Argentina, Uruguay, Portugal. I mean, boom, right off the bat, the 2 best matchups of the round of 16. Boom,
and if they both win, you'll have the Clásico Sudamericano, it's right up there with the England-Scotland, one of the oldest.
Oh yeah.
Oldest matchups that you have, and it was actually the very first World Cup final.
Right.
Yeah, and but it would be intense. I was talking to my friend, El Profe. He's actually a profe. He's a professor at the University of Buenos Aires.
Is he a Cambiarraya? Does he have Cambiarraya too?
No, he's a hardcore River Plate fan, and that dude was nervous, man. He's been nervous for the whole, I guess, pretty much the whole tournament.
Well, that's what Kit said about Argentines is that he said, that's what Argentina does is that they will just squeeze the last nerve out of you. They just make everything so harrowing for all Argentine fans that's just the way it is.
I would say he's spot on, because I was talking to him and he just seemed to want to avoid the Argentina topic altogether, man. He kept talking to me about Mexico and the other stuff.
That's funny.
And I was like, no, I need some RG info right now.
Well,
I'm see what's going on in your camp, because do you know that I think Sampaoli had to, there was like a mutiny and
he is,
and they wanted Sampa out, and
He's basically, you know how Memo Cantu for the longest time was the travel agent. What Sampaoli is now is he's the guy that gives the card to the referee to tell him that there's a change. That's what Sampaoli is now.
He sets the orange cones and he's like the Uber driver.
That's right. And he's the one who writes the name on a little piece of paper to give to the ref after either Mascher or Messi tells him who to take out and who to put in.
Yeah, they were saying that for the match he was asking, I think, Messi if one of the cambios, if he was all right with one of
if he was okay to bring Kunin. Hey,
God damn. This straight Sunday pub. You know, that's from the amateur soccer.
At the beginning of the show, Joel, is that I personally, and I've been saying this since last week when they lost 1-0, said if they make the round of 16, I would be really, really leery of them because, now, all these games are, no one's going to be taking as many chances. And, they're an extremely patient team, probably the most patient team in the tournament.
Yeah.
And they can play whatever style you want. And
this is
dominate it well.
This is what Profe Santi did manage to tell me, and he said he's hoping at least one of their top players gets a fire lit under his ass. If it's Kun, if it's Di Maria, it's like it just has to be one of those guys that is gonna start playing, at their best. And he's like that would propel us to the final. And I agree. I think if they have some of those players that are, that are the game changers that have that, they could turn a match into their favor in one or two plays. And that's, Messi, I don't think he's really done that, this World Cup. But he has that potential where he could just kill a match in one.
He did score an outstanding goal against Nigeria.
I know, but they finished that game,
Yeah, but I mean that's what Argentina does. I mean Argentina. Obviously they didn't do it against Croatia, but I mean Argentina. And as Profe Millonario points out, if one of their players gets hot, then I'm telling you, look out, Argentina. I think they make the final. I think that they would be the best team on that side of the bracket, even better than Brazil, I think.
Yeah, and they got quite a few players, including Dybala, who hasn't played it. Even that guy has that potential, and he's in the bench. You don't have a player like that on the bench, man.
Yeah, he's the best player of the team in Italy that's won four Scudettos in a row.
Yeah, that'd be like Mexico having a Cuauhtemoc in his prime, and he's sitting in the bench.
Right.
That's insane, man. I think, and they went
machine for Ramon Ramirez. It's like a 1992. But like if he hadn't gotten injured.
Damn. Yeah, I was reading the forums in El Big Soccer, and they were talking about like Mexico's lack of progress, and I feel like there's been a lot of progress. If you've seen the history of Mexican soccer in the past 20 years, there's been a lot of progress where the team even just to stay. Like I don't think sometimes fans realize how difficult it is to stay within like the top 15, even top 20 teams, just to stay at that level for years. It's very difficult. You'll see teams like Wales, Croatia, other teams go in for like maybe a 4-year cycle and then fall off and kind of disappear.
And the other thing that folks need to realize, Joel, is that the group stage is becoming more and more difficult for teams to make it through. And for Mexico to be able to do it as long as they have, I mean that is 7 times in a row chronologically, yes. but for themselves 8 times in a row.
8 times.
They did it, and they didn't play 90, but in the World Cups that they've played, eight times in a row.
Okay,
their last 8 World Cups. Their last 8 World Cups.
Yeah, that's and when you look at the big picture
nine
of
the last 10.
Yeah, and that's only Brazil that's been able to do that.
Exactly.
It used to be Brazil, Germany, and Mexico. Now it's just Brazil and Mexico.
So
I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I know it doesn't seem like a big deal because we got used to it. As Mexico fans, we got used to it. So, gigantes del grupo.
I don't see how you can ever get used to that because it is. I mean, for Mexico, it was always hard. I mean, it was always. I mean, Martin had a great term, but I never heard before, and I don't know if it's a common saying or not. But he was. I should find the tweet specifically, but it was like that the goal against Germany, was upsetting. And now we're gonna have to watch our third game con Jesus en la boca. And I can't think of a better way to say it, but that's how the Mexican World Cup games have been for me since since 1986. I mean, that's just how they are. Mexico, again, Mexico is not as they're a top 20 team, but they're not a top 5 team.
No, but the fans have become spoiled where it's like they don't know what it's like to have your team go home after the group stage, to have your team eliminated by the second game. They just don't. They don't know that feels.
Ask Peru and their fans if they wanted to lose 3-0 in the last game and still make the knockouts. Ask them if they would have taken that compared to what they had to live through. I got to tell you.
And after 30 years of not being at the World Cup,
the Peru games, every single one of even the one when they were eliminated, the atmosphere was off the charts, just incredible.
Yeah, no, Mexico fans have been spoiled, man. It's a big deal, man, just to be able to get to World Cup and then still stay past that round, to be at the round of 16. And at that point, you're already at the top 16 teams in the world. And I think, they don't see it as, they forget, they forget that Mexico at one time was like Panama. Panama was celebrating. They lost, what was it, 6-1? They were celebrating that one goal. It was their first ever World Cup goal. They were celebrating it almost like it was a win. I don't know if you heard the narrator. He's crying. The whole Panama.
Well, just when they were playing the national anthem for their first game, there's footage of them just sitting there. The announcers just hugging and crying each other. Crying and hugging each other. It was a huge. It was a huge accomplishment for Panama, and remember, I mean, this was a country that 12 years ago, I mean, they made their first and only hex at that time in 2000. And they built it from nothing, and I hope that they're able to continue.
And just like looking at Mexico, I believe Mexico's first win didn't come to the 1954 World Cup.
58.
50. See, that's not that far off if you look at it.
Yeah, so that was I think it was because they did 30, but they didn't do the other two. So 30, 50, and then 54, 50. So they're by their fourth World Cup was when they got their first win.
Yeah, and that was just like the first win. And in the 78 World Cup, they're going 3-0. They're getting their asses handed to them and just being sent back home packing. And this is 78. That's after even hosting the World Cup.
Why are you so mean to me, Ho, and bringing that up?
Bringing back some bad.
Were you alive in 78, Ho? Were you?
I was barely there. I was just opening my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not nice, man. I was like 6 years old, so it was like traumatizing. Because
you were like Gonzalo's children.
Well, I mean, what it did, it was like it made me wonder exactly. Except
ya se le te están viendo los niños.
Except that was the one that made me wonder. So I was like, good God, are we this bad? I had no idea. I was like, geez, we're just getting our ass kicked.
So we waited 4 years for this.
Well, I didn't know what a mundial was until they started.
So they get but I mean, you're a little kid. You see your team get their asses handed to them, and then it's like you have to wait for years till you see your team again, and then it's like, guess what? They're not going. They didn't qualify. So 78, you get your asses handed to you. 82, you don't even make it to the World Cup.
I remember that too, and I remember Hugo was they were playing the tournament in Honduras because they would do an hexagonal in one play. It was like the Gold Cup basically is what it was.
Yeah.
I think that they should go back to that. I think that would be really.
Well, they would have stayed there. You would have had teams like Panama, even Guatemala qualify for You know,
Yeah,
they would have
absolutely.
they would have been at the World.
But anyway, so so and then Hugo was playing in Spain, so because their season always ends a little later than most. So, and then back then they didn't have to give anybody up. They're like, you're not getting him. He's playing. So he landed like the day before the last game and started against Honduras, the game that they had to win, and they tied 0-0, and Hugo had the best chance, and it just slipped, inches wide. Yeah, and they didn't make it, and it was Honduras and El Salvador, and El Salvador got just pounded.
I think it's the most lopsided defeat
Yeah,
in
10 to
World
1.
Cup history.
Yeah, just awful. To a terrible. The worst part, it was a terrible team that did it to him. It was Hungary, just not a very good team.
Hungary. Yeah, the Hungary. That's the one team that it's like people don't hear about. Like some people won't even know if you're being serious if that's a country.
Right.
It's not a comercial de sneakers.
Exactly.
And making it even worse, they had their best player ever.
Yeah.
They had the magic man right there.
Mágico.
I was supposed to, yeah, yeah, man. Unfortunately, the dude was the only thing he was making disappear was bottles. He became a hardcore alcoholic, but
that's unfortunate.
yeah, it could be very brutal, man, and very difficult. And I think a lot of times Mexico fans they don't realize how difficult it is.
And then
to
having a
stay
World Cup, playing games at the Estadio Azteca was hard because it's a World Cup game. They beat Belgium 2-1. Quirarte scored and Hugo on set pieces, mind you. And then they played Paraguay and they scored a goal like in the first minute. But then then Hugo missed a penalty there at the end. And even against Iraq at the Azteca, they only won 1-0. So even in that World Cup, it was a slog for Mexico to get through the group stage. And it was it was tough, and and again, 94 was. We were talking about that earlier too. Just the tightest group I think in history. Everyone had 4 points, and Mexico went through because they were the only ones that had 2 goals in one game, so they had more goals than anybody.
Yeah, goal differential.
It wasn't goal differential. It was goals scored because they were all tied on goal differential. Everyone had the same goal differential.
Oh, I thought they were. I thought they had that.
But everyone else's win was a 1-0 in that group. Mexico was the only one that won 2-1. So because of that, they had
they lost against Norway 1-0 with Sage missing right in front of. I don't know how he missed. He was like 5 inches from the porteria.
And the same way that I don't know how Carlos Vela missed on against Sweden.
Yeah, and then there was the 2-0 win over Ireland, and then the 1-1 draw against Italy, who made it all the way to the final.
I'm not gonna lie, Joel. Years ago, when Mexico lost a qualifier to the U.S. in Columbus, and it was a weird game because Giovanni started off and he almost scored like in the first 3 minutes. Tim Howard made a great foot reflex save. It was on a play from Neri Castillo. Neri Castillo and Giovanni were starting forwards, for God's sakes. It was like they were great. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, it seems surreal talking about that.
And
it was like Mandela effect.
So they almost get a goal, and then then it didn't play out, and then the U.S. get the first goal, and there's a free kick, and Mexico plays it perfectly, and Giovanni slides to score. What he ends up doing is he ends up blocking the shot from going into the net. And from that moment, I was like, "Holy crap! I hope that this didn't just quemar Gio for life, because play like that is like but luckily it didn't. He ended up having a great career. For his only good career as a professional has been with the national team. So it all worked out well for him. Because I was hoping he wasn't going to get quemado like Gauchito Avila and the other guy from America, El Torito Silva, who were both quemados for life after the Olympic thing.
Oh man, yeah, tough stuff, man.
All right, so back to the World Cup. We are going on some very dark places. Joel. We're talking.
No, but that's what makes the World Cup, what it is. And anything can happen going into that. I have it at 60-40, John. 60 favor of Brazil, 40 Mexico. But yeah, anything can happen, and that's.
So you would not be surprised at all to see Mexico win that game. That is what it sounds like.
No, yeah, absolutely not. I mean, just because, yeah, Mexico has already sembrando raíces. They already got a couple massive wins over Brazil under their belt. There's that reference of we've beaten Brazil before.
Right. Well, and
So
it's not just it's not just air quote beating Brazil. What Mexico has beaten Brazil at very important milestones in their international soccer palmares. They beat Brazil in the 2017 the 2005 rather U17 in Peru. They beat Brazil for the Olympics. They beat Brazil for the Confederaciones.
And the Olympics was the one title they really wanted because they had not ever won it, and they had Neymar in that. There's that famous picture of it looks like Corona's uppercutting him, but yeah, they just won it. They ended up winning it, I think, the following Olympics, but that was the one title they didn't have. I mean, you're Brazil, they got this brilliant, trophy case, and it's missing at the Olympics. And the London one seemed like that was it for them, and then Mexico comes. It seemed like what better opponent, to face in a final and to win it, and they end up beating you.
Right. So all of Mexico's milestone wins have come against Brazil. So to me, that's what I'm saying. This would be a milestone win for Mexico. So who better to do it against than Brazil? I mean, it is, and I cannot say it enough. It is the one big team that for whatever reason Mexico plays and plays well against. So let's hope for more of the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's a lot of great matchups lining up.
Yeah, so we have that, and then we have the France, Argentina, Uruguay, Portugal. So you're hoping there, Joel. You're hoping the Clásico del Plata.
I wouldn't mind seeing it, man. That would be something else.
It would be. I mean, it would be. We asked a question when this came up earlier. Over and under on red cards. What's your number?
Red cards?
Yeah.
For what game?
For Uruguay, Argentina. How many red cards? What's your?
I would maybe
I'm gonna say 2, but over 2 or under 2? Over 2 or under 2?
Yeah, I would. Oh man, that's a tough one. It's I'm right in the middle of that. But I'll say under 2.
Under?
And a bunch of yellows.
Oh, they'll be like 9 yellows.
Yeah, and they could have been more red cards, but the ref's not gonna want to throw the match away.
Well, see the red cards that I'm thinking of, or if someone's winning 2-0 and they just want to.
They're not gonna lose both fights, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Because Argentina did that against Croatia pretty significantly, but they just didn't get red carded for it. But there was some hitting going on there at the end of that game. They were doing some stuff that was impressive. And Layun tried to do it, and he just came off as an amateur.
Yeah, he's missing the dark arts.
Yeah, he exactly. He didn't. He was not subtle about what he was doing. Not subtle at all. So, and then we have Belgium, Japan, and then Mexico, Brazil. We'll talk about that bracket in a second. So over on the other side, Joel, we have Spain, Russia, and Denmark, Croatia on the top half. So out of those 4, who makes the semis for you?
Yeah, Spain. I think Spain's going over Russia, and then
Spain, Croatia.
I don't know.
Fascinating. It would be a fascinating quarterfinal.
Yeah, I think the other one's a toss-up for me. The Denmark, Croatia. I think it could go either way. But I say seeing Croatia do what they did to Argentina and then doing the whole 6 points. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're the favorites to win um to win that matchup.
Right. And then
But I do think
go ahead.
I do think if you see a Brazil Belgium, that could be like one of the best games of the tournament.
We can only hope so. I would also think that Mexico Belgium would be an entertaining match as well.
Yeah, so, I've lost my faith, John.
Well, you already said
it's beating out of me.
You hedged. You said 60-40, so you've left the window open, Joel. You're right.
No, I did because you can't discount even if they play bad.
You closed the door, but you didn't.
I still left the window open. No, and this other thing. The other thing is that Mexico plays better as underdog. So I mean, they still have a few things in their favor, but I just see the negatives outweigh the positives.
Well, Mexico has the intangibles on their side. Like I said, they like being the underdog. They like having a chip on their shoulder. I think that the way that the fans reacted to the loss, if it galvanizes the team into having a chip on their shoulder, so be it. Because they play a lot better with one. So if they're trying to make that happen, then let them make it happen. The whole Brazil thing that we've talked about, and just the history that they have, and it's not just, I'm not just saying that just a random Mexican. We're talking about there are players that live through this, that beat Brazil at the U17, that beat them in the Olympics. There are guys that were on those teams that did that, and so
yeah, but some of these guys, are they even gonna play? Because you have like Oribe Peralta, you have like Giovanni, like are they? And those guys are bench right now.
Well, I
mean, and even Fabian is bench.
It's just good to I think Fabian might start actually.
You think he might start? What about Jonah, man? He hasn't played not 1 minute. I'm surprised that he hasn't played at all.
Well, I think he was the insurance policy for Herrera when Herrera took he had to take a second yellow. That's why I don't think he's played. I think that if he's going to play, he's only going to play if Herrera's out.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, I get that because it could have very well happened. So, but I do see him. If Mexico is putting in the Rafas and the Jonas of the world in the second half as a sub, then that means things are going well for Mexico. If Mexico's subs are Tecatito, Raúl Jiménez, and some other offensive player, then things are not going well for Mexico. So whether that will be if you don't look at anything else, look at the subs and see when they come in. And then let's see. And then on the bottom half of the bracket, to round it up, we have England playing Colombia, and the other game is it's I forget who the other one is. Joel, I don't have my bracket.
Japan.
No, we have England, Colombia, and how could I forget Sweden, Switzerland? Good Lord,
I thought Japan qualified.
No, they did, but they're playing Belgium. That's in the
they're playing Belgium.
Mexico,
okay,
that's in the Mexico corner. Yeah, so it's Suecia, Suiza, and Suecia, and
yeah.
And then Colombia and England. I think that for Colombia and England, we're not going to get a better chance than this to make the semifinals. So I think whoever wins that game, they have a chance to make some magic.
Yeah, they do.
And Profe picked Sweden. Profe thinks Sweden's going to make the semifinals because he says
Sweden's going to do it. They're going all the way.
Yeah, he dropped us some. He dropped some Bruce Lee on us. He said, "I'd rather go up against a guy who knows how to do 1,000 things than go up against a guy who knows how to do one thing and has done it 1,000 times."
Yeah, that's a Bruce Lee quote. He practiced the one kick 1,000 times. Yeah, their coach, man, that Anderson guy, he came in after the the Euro 2016. So after the Euro 2016, Sweden were eliminated in the group stage, and then Ibra had just announced his retirement.
Right.
So this dude comes in. He's like the Swedish Piojo, you know. He had success at the club level, and he managed to create a positive group, you know, because that was even one of the other things of now that they were at the World Cup, were they going to take Ibrahimovic, and he left them out, you know, which was like, I imagine it was a tough call. So they left him out, and but pretty much since he took over, the team started, you know, they started overperforming, and they were in a group with France and Holland, and Holland, you know, they had finished third place in the previous World Cup, so it was almost like a foregone conclusion that France and Holland were going to be the ones advancing.
You know who broke Holland? What?
Can play.
Mexico. Mexico broke Holland
Mexico.
when they beat them 3-2 after the.
Oh, that's right. The friendly after the World Cup.
That's right. They were never the same. They were never the same after that.
Yeah, Vela. That's Vela's return.
Yeah.
Vela scored in that game. He's like, I want to play now. Yeah, but I mean, so Belgium, they punch over their weight and they finish in second place of that group, and then they go on to eliminate Italy in
right.
You know, in the playoffs. And I think that the second leg was played in Italy, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. They won 1-0 in Stockholm, and then they went to Italy, and they kept it at 0.
Yeah, and that was just massive, you know. So that team's gone through like a big transformation. They enter the World Cup in, you know, in a hot streak.
Well, you know, think, like Mexico, they both had the same mentality. You know, going into the tournament that you know the last game between Mexico and Sweden was going to be the game to determine what, you know, who advanced out of the group. It was a final. And you know, the Swedish coach, as we mentioned on Wednesday, had Mexico. He knew exactly how Mexico was going to play. He was not surprised at all.
And you know what? They were unlucky against Germany because they could have knocked out Germany.
Yes, they
in that second game. There was to me that was a penalty kick early on. There was like this one play that to me was a penalty kick. But yeah, they had the Germans, you know, up against the corner up until that goal in the last minute.
And then then at that point, it would have been the Germans who would have been relying on Mexico for result, because the only way that Germany goes through is if they win and Sweden doesn't. So, but regardless of that, you know, the Swedish coach knew that the Mexico game was the game that determined whether or not they were going to get through. This is, you know, before the World Cup started, and it turned out to be the case for them for sure. And because of that, I mean, it was the one game that they obviously knew that they had to have. So they prepared very well for it, and it's still baffling to me, Joel, how low the energy was for Mexico in that game, and it's not something that I'll understand. But you know, it cost Mexico a chance for, you know, to be rewarded in some way. But as you said, objetivo cumplido, and they're in the knockouts, and you know, la más fea might be la más bella for Mexico, because you know their chances are as good against Brazil as there are against anybody in the world for whatever reason. A ver qué pasa.
Well, this is it, John. This is the moment of truth for this generación de oro.
That's right. They can
leave. Yeah, where they can leave their mark. This is where they can leave their mark. They can etch their names in the annals of tricolor history.
They can, write their own legacy. They can cement.
You could say, in a way, they kind of did with the Germany, because now there's that one. You know, it goes in the record books. You know, a win over the campeones.
But again, it's like you're celebrating a win in the regular season. You gotta celebrate. in the
Oh,
postseason.
it's like we become Atlas. We're celebrating a Clásico win.
Exactly. And that's why, I mean, I told my buddy, he's like, oh man, that Germany win was said, yeah, but it was just, all it meant was you got 3 points. It didn't mean, other than that, that's all it meant. And they still had it to, get more points. 3 points was never going to be enough. And
yeah,
but
that's
you
true.
weren't on
That's
Joel,
true.
but Mexico was the first. There have been other teams that have beaten Germany in the group stage and not advanced. Algeria was one, and Serbia was the other. Teams that have taken points off Germany that had not advanced. I think Ghana was one. There were some others as well that ended up not advancing. So just getting those points with Germany is no guarantee that you're gonna that it's gonna happen. So Mexico was very lucky that they were able to not join that unfortunate club.
Well, this is it, John. This is the moment of truth.
Yeah, it is. It is the game that this is a group, Joel, that for a lot of them it's their third World Cup, and this is what they're
Yeah, and for Osorio, man, you go from hero to villain. And,
overnight. In 90 minutes. In 90 minutes.
Yeah. In 0 to 90 seconds, or what is it? 0 to 60.
Fast. It's going to be the plot of the new Fast and Furious movie. How fast people change their minds on Osorio.
Yeah, he was Mexico's greatest coach ever after the Germany game. And then after the Sweden game, he's back.
They were chanting his name.
Osorio was back in the menu, huh?
Chanting his name in the Seven Armies chant.
Yeah.
At this, at the stadium.
He's getting serenaded, yeah. And technical for life and all that. And and now it's like Fuera Osorio all over again.
It's like what it was. It was the Mexican fans were dancing around like what was his name? Prince Oberon.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
thinking they had it all locked up.
If Mexico wins, Osorio returns to a parade. If they lose, he might as well not even fly back to Mexico City. I don't think he'll be hated. It depends how you lose too. It depends how you lose.
Yeah, if they lose 5-0, which again is entirely possible. I am not ruling that scoreline. I'm being honest. I'm not ruling that scoreline. I'm just it could very well happen. Yeah, if he loses like that, then yeah. But I mean, if
he might already have his stuff being shipped to back to Colombia or to Miami or somewhere.
If it is a patented luchamos como nunca pero perdimos como siempre, then yeah, he'll be allowed to come back. Because he'll be add your name to the list, buddy. You and everyone else. Make way for Pelado Almeida to come in.
Yeah, I think he's the one dude that they're gonna bring in that is gonna calm a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Just because how popular he is, and that's gonna calm the waters
until they lose. Until that loss.
until the first tournament when they come home after the second round.
After a round of 16 loss.
Yeah, no, man. Mexico fans, they're pretty fickle. I mean, all the Chillermanos that were, clogging the suicide lines over Almeida leaving, they seem to have forgotten, man.
I will say that when Chivas people that were they came out of the closet, out of the woodwork. They came out. I've never seen so many Chivas people that had no idea were Chivas fans in my life.
Well, recently there was some videos with Cardoso showing the kids how to properly strike the ball, and all of a sudden he's the new sweetheart. The good chunk of fans already forgot about Almeida. They forgot they were mad. Hey, were we mad? Weren't we supposed to be mad?
All right, so back to our picks. So we haven't done the last bracket. So it's Brazil, Belgium, Mexico, and Japan. So who out of those four makes the semis?
Oh man, I see Brazil, man. I'm taking Brazil all the way, John.
Yeah,
that was my pick at the start of the tournament, and I'm sticking with it. I do think Belgium Brazil is going to be one of those matches. One of those highlight game, one of the
We can only hope.
matches of the tournament. But yeah, I see them making it all the way to the final.
All right. So, and then in the top half of that bracket, it was Argentina, France, and Uruguay, Portugal. Out of those four, who do you like?
You know what? I'm gonna go with Portugal. I think CR7 is gonna have his moment over Uruguay.
Okay, so you have a Brazil Portugal semifinal on one side.
Yeah, Clásico in its own ways,
I'm gonna have a Belgium Argentina semifinal.
Oh, that would be another great matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just how we talked about Argentina, that they got so many players. I feel the same way over Brazil. I mean, if you got players like Gabriel Jesus and even Neymar, that if they catch on fire, they could just skyrocket all the way into the
Uruguay
final.
has that with Suarez too. I mean, and they have the defense to block anybody.
Oh, yeah, man, that's Italy light right there, man.
Exactly.
They could go catenaccio if they choose to, man.
Yeah, well, I do think that Argentina
bore you into submission.
They're going to emulate Italy, and I think that they're going to end up making the final, going to win it. Is what I think. I think that they of all the big teams, they're the ones that probably deserve to make the last round least, but they got the result they needed at the end, and I think because of that, I think that they're gonna catch fire.
Yeah, Uruguay could be very Italy, man. That's great strong defense and one really good striker.
We did talk about that, and Kit, admitted that the Argentina Uruguay is a 50-50 match. Period.
Yeah.
So.
Kit.
So yeah, so if it ends up being Argentina, I'll tell you, it would be amazing if it's Argentina Portugal, just to see, who wins the duel.
And Argentina advancing, John, does that keep guaranteeing you more asados?
That's true. No, I think Kid got mad at me because they've been having all these watch parties there for Argentina games. Like, dude, what about the Mexico games? And he's like, well, he said there's plenty of other places that have that. So I was like, well, yeah, you're probably right. But
yeah.
No, it was yeah. So that I mean, any one of those matchups are really. I mean that is the glamour part of the out of the bracket for sure. Are those four teams? So, but yeah, Brazil Belgium. What game would be? I wouldn't necessarily like the reason for that, but it would be an outstanding game.
Oh man.
If Sweden plays England, God help us. Although I think England, England's one of those teams, Joel, that they're under the radar too, and I think they could easily make the semifinals.
Oh, the talent's there, yeah.
Yeah.
That whole talent's there, and like we've talked about it. We had Tom and we talked about this. That's going to be one of the teams to look out for going into the next World Cup.
Yeah, I don't think they know how good they are now. I think that they have seriously.
They don't realize it.
I think that they have the makings of being a great team if they can keep it together. I think they can, and if they, I mean, they already got a guy who's.
They're the hot girl that doesn't realize how hot she is.
That's right. She's still got her glasses on. She's got her hair pulled back.
She's about to dump her geeky boyfriend soon.
Yeah, she's wearing the white long sleeve shirt. Buttoned up to her neck. The huge glasses. No, England is definitely, I think, a dark horse here. I think that they have. I mean, they couldn't have asked for a better shot to make a World Cup final. Seriously. I mean, and Colombia too. Colombia, Spain, Croatia. I mean, there are teams on that side. That was the bracket that Mexico could have. Right now, we could be talking about, oh my God, Mexico has a chance to make it all the way to them. I mean, they have a legitimate shot at making it all the way to the final.
I'll tell you what, John. Mexico will make that quinto partido, just because of how the tournament is going to change. I'm pretty sure they're going to get to it once we're at that 48-team World Cup. And there's going to be way more easier roads. into the finals.
Well, yes and no. I mean, because I don't think that there's going to be the potential for as many upsets because there's going to be, the group's going to be a group of 3, so you're going to have a really good team and then a más o menos team. Now, where Mexico is going to be in danger is that they're going to be toward the end of the really good teams. Like they're going to be a group seed for sure because they'll be in the top 16.
Yeah. Well, then, and if they're hosts,
then if they draw like Team 18, they could be like Mexico, Chile, Malaysia. I mean, seriously, that could be their group if they do the seeding the way they've been doing it.
Yeah, man. Ouch.
Yeah, exactly. So there's again, that's why we're stressing that. Yes, Mexico lost to Sweden and it sucked, blah blah blah. But Mexico made it out of the group stage, by knocking out Germany.
Yeah, but that Chile team might be gone by the time 2026 rolls around.
Sure, but I'm just throwing that out there. Whoever's ranked 18.
And you know what, John? It's going back to what we were talking about, maintaining that consistency, because Chile's the one team that they'll have a really good selection for one cycle or two, and then they disappear for one or two cycles, and then they come right back. And I think if we could give points to Mexico, I would say that's it. That even if we don't have that brilliant team, they'll still go to the World Cup and not look bad, which was like, in some senses like La Volpe's, he had Kikín and Bravo as strikers. I mean, and he still managed to go out pretty good,
People are, we're comparing this team wasn't as good as the La Volpe team, and that La Volpe team in that World Cup. They did. What is the deal with people saying that was a good? They did not have good World Cup performances.
They just remember the moments, They just remember certain moments. So the match against Angola was terrible. And I was at the stadium. I saw that game, and it's. I keep trying to forget it. It was just boring.
That was the first time I heard the people chant. Was at that game.
Oh man, yeah. And then the Iran game was like whatever, kind of exciting second half because the team was down 1-0, and then La Volpe does all 3 cambios at the start.
No, they were up 1-0, but they equalized them very quickly, and then they got 2 goals late.
Yeah, and they lose to Portugal, and then they got completely dominated by Argentina. But because they took it to the extra half, yeah, and then you had the Maxi golazo. The match seemed better than what it was, and also we kind of mixed some of the Confederation Cup. Team looked pretty good in Confederaciones.
Well, that's
so
what
it carried over a bit. Yeah, it carries over.
And this World Cup to me is why, I'm willing to. Yes, it sucks when Mexico gets blasted out of a Copa America that's played in the States, and especially the Confed Cup. To me, the Confed Cup is just a great little opportunity for a team to to try some stuff out. It's as a prep tournament. To me, everything should lead to the World Cup for a country like Mexico. So, but to me, the only way that's worth it, and that's why I was totally fine with doing other rotaciones and all that stuff, because the devil's advocate in me was like, he's probably gonna need Carlos Vera to play for 30 minutes in a game, maybe against Brazil in the round of 16, or he has to play an extremo. So let's play him at an extremo for a couple of games and see how he does. Is he comfortable? Oh, he's great. So we're gonna if that comes up, we're gonna have to do it. It might come up again in the Brazil game. So that stuff to me never really bothered me. And so if he can, cash all that in, then yes, I think that he deserves the, he deserves the credit and the respect of folks for accomplishing something that hadn't been done in over 30 years. And I don't necessarily think that means anything. I don't think that a coach is better or worse in a second cycle. I don't think that would be a good idea. But it is Mexico again has never had a better chance to win a game in the round of 16 as they have against Brazil. With as you said, this is a chance for these guys to cement their legacy, and it's all in front. It's all out there in front of them. Brazil is a tough opponent, but they are. No one is unbeatable, and they certainly have some flaws that Mexico can expose. Mexico obviously has flaws that Brazil can expose. They have to limit that exposure. So, Joel, it sounds delicious. I hope it's good.
It is. It is. It's my late dinner, John.
Right. Well, Joel, we've been on for a while, so we should probably wrap it up here.
Yeah, yo pensé que venía a barrer, but we got caught up on this.
Well, it's the World Cup. It's the Mundial. I mean, it's the group stage is over. We're round of 16. A very difficult group stage for a lot of teams. It was, we're all decompressing now. We have a day off, and then it starts again on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can all sleep in tomorrow. We have to get up to watch the games. That's what Andres Cantor said after he did the Colombia game. He's like, at the end of the game, the whistle blows. No hay tiempo para, like, they was like, y mañana vamos a poder dormir. Because they're traveling from city to city every day. It's got to be hell.
Yeah, I didn't know he was doing that.
Yeah, they've been going. Now, sometimes they're in Moscow. They do it from the studio, but lately they've been going for these 4 days. They went from city to stadium to stadium to stadium to stadium. They were in a stadium all four games, and then Russia's a big country, so a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, bueno, John. This is my out.
All right, Joel. Well, enjoy the rest of your late dinner, and just to recap, you say 60-40 Brazil, so you're leaving the door open.
That's correct.
But you think Brazil's going to win?
That is correct, sir. But I'm hoping for the upset, but that's still my prediction.
I'm going to go ahead and predict Mexico because why the hell not? And I do think that they have what it takes to do it, and they like you have pointed out how important it is. Their history has proven that they have. So let's go out and do it again, boys, like we have in the past. And I think that is a huge advantage that very few teams have against Brazil. And Mexico has that advantage, so they should definitely use it to their advantage, and hopefully they will. And hopefully we'll see Mexico in the quarterfinals against Japan. It'll probably be Belgium, but hey, man, this World Cup, Joel, might turn out to be like the Liguilla. Who knows what's going to happen? Because I think a lot of these teams are still pretty even. So we'll see how it turns out.
The Liguilla where Querétaro makes the final.
That's right. Yeah, the final's going to be the final's going to be Japan, Russia. Japan, Russia in the World Cup final.
Yeah, I think FIFA will be hoping that's not the case.
Like when the finals are like Querétaro, San Luis, or like wasn't Dorados in a final once against some random team?
I don't remember that.
All right, Joel. Well, we do thank the folks that have tuned in to catch part of the show, all of the show portions of it. We do thank Kit McConico for joining us earlier. Kit, big Argentina fan. If you live in Austin and you want to watch the Argentina-France game with Argentina fans, go to Little Woodrow's on Burnett Road. That's where they will be, and they will be having a watch party for Argentina there for the first game of the round of 16. Joel, Argentina-France. So right off the bat, we get the plato fuerte to start us off. It's like the shot of tequila before your morning coffee, Joel. Boom. How do you do? So that's where we'll be on Saturday. My name is John Jagu. You guys have been listening to the CantinaMX podcast. We do appreciate y'all listening to us. You can download this podcast every week when we upload it up to the Podcast Center on iTunes as well as on Google Play. And, of course, you can listen to it right here on our YouTube channel. We'll be back with you guys next week. Thank you very much for joining us.